approaching 10,000 cases by this point, by week 3 of April. We are still not there. We are still less than even 300 cases. But it's because also of testing. The number of tests that we've conducted, but we've seen cases coming out from across the country. Very many counties now are reporting cases. Yeah, so we'll be discussing that in detail in due course in the show. C.T. Muga.
Yes.
Let's start off with today's proverb.
Yes, this one is a proverb from Uganda. An interesting one. By trying often, the donkey learns to jump from the tree. When I first read this one, I asked, what on earth was the donkey doing on the tree?
How does it climb the tree? Has it learned to climb the tree first?
Now, that is a question you should ask because that is where the real discussion actually lies. So if a donkey tries hard enough, it will be able to climb the tree. And having climbed, if it tries even harder, it will be able to jump from the tree.
Okay.
Even the things that seem impossible and improbable can sometimes be achieved as one keeps trying. But I would add, if you keep changing the way in which you try, if you're trying in the same way, the results will be the same. But if you consider that perhaps you might use a different method to achieve this apparent impossibility, you may actually come up with a solution that makes it possible for this impossibility to be a possibility.
Now, see, I like that very much. I do.
You like trying different things or trying the same thing in different ways?
The inspiration behind all of this, I'm going to go with that.
It's good.
It is, I think so. I like this one. The Ugandans.
You see, that's
Pigs
the thing
can fly.
Now you've got it. You see, this is the whole point behind Proverbs. They don't actually tell you things that are obviously or patently obvious. They tell you something that makes you wonder what on earth is this.
What's this?
Yes, and in wondering, you will get the gist of what they're trying to achieve. Yes.
Good. Let's take a look at the headlines. A quick one. What do you have on the nation? Let me tell you what's on the nation. When your country abandons you abroad, this is as if getting flushed out of houses and hotels into the streets is not distressing enough for the unfortunate Kenyans in China. They are now forced to beg for donations from well-wishers to raise their airfare after the government said it would only bring them back home at their own cost. So already we know that the government of Kenya has told those who are stranded in China and they'd like to come back home that the government can organize for a chartered flight to go to Gwangju and pick them and bring them home. However, it's at their own cost. If you want to go home at your own cost, please register to a certain form that has been shared. And then you also commit that when you get home, you will go into 14 days of quarantine at a government facility. Right? So this is what the story is talking about. Now, many of these people in China don't have money. They don't have the means to actually bring themselves back home or pay for those tickets. They're resorting to fundraising. And the government is basically being accused here in these articles of abandoning Kenyans. Kenyan taxpayers, Kenyans who have paid tax, Kenyans who are legally Kenyan, who should be getting some support from their government to come back home, and they are not getting it.
Well, this has also extended to Kenyans who are in India. And the statement that one reads in the Standard is, in view of the above, all Kenyans in India who are interested in returning home on the envisioned evacuation flight are urgently requested to submit their names by close of business today, April 21st. So,
And the same has also been said of Kenyans in the UK as well. The UK High Commission is saying, the Kenyan High Commission in the UK is saying the same.
We'll bring you home at your own
We'll
cost.
bring you home, but please foot your bill. Hear the assumption, and you talk to many people, they'll tell you, I mean, if somebody afforded a flight to go to
Then they have money, there's
they have
no
money.
problem.
They should be able to afford to come back home.
yes, but if they have overstayed their visit, it is very likely that they have used up the money they had.
Yep. Especially those that went to seek medical treatment. Now, those are special cases.
The person
Those
who
are
or the
clearly
people
special cases.
who oversee communicating such matters are bungling it yet again. Yes, people can pay. Can you not find a way of phrasing it so that it sounds a little humane? I mean, fine, ask them to pay for it. We've had the same story with quarantine, all right? All that was being asked of was clarity
Yep.
and then choice. These are the government facilities that we have. These ones are for free. These ones, this is what you pay. This is the other. But this one where someone lands somewhere and they're being shocked, you're told, okay, you certainly have to pay.
Yeah,
Say,
and
but,
you're not. First of all, you're not going home, and where we're taking you, you're going to foot your
You're
bill.
gonna
So
the issue isn't
gosh.
them landing there. The issue is the attitude behind it. Because even if you talk about planning, the attitude behind the planning is what is being manifested. We've told you to go where you should go. Why are you arguing with us? And we've told you to pay. Pay.
it's not an issue. It's not up for discussion. So
Now that it's understandable that you would want people to be responsible for their travel because they were responsible for their going wherever they're going in the first place.
Yeah.
It's perfectly understandable. Communicate it in a little more, in a humane manner.
But what should happen, City? Should these people be brought home at government cost? How should they pay?
No.
Should they foot a bill?
No, I am not questioning the footing of the bill. I'm talking about communicating it. I'm not saying they shouldn't pay. Not at all. Look,
But here the issue is that they can't afford it.
if they can't afford it, then find a way of making sure that these people, they're Kenyans, they went abroad.
Yeah.
Chances are they went abroad because family members chimed in. Man, are you telling me there is no mechanism that they can find to ensure that these things get paid?
you know the thing is, unfortunately, here the manner in which you say, somebody can be calling you a fool, but the way in which they tell you, you would actually think that they're telling you something very nice. It's the manner in which this is sent up. The communication is, it's. If you want to come home, you may come home, but at your own cost, and then it's left there, and then it's left hanging. Unfortunately, here, there are certain things you can say. There's a way in which you can let down this information that somebody would actually understand. All right, and then let me see what I can do on my side to then make the trip home. It's the way in which it is the information is being shared, and it's in which it's being communicated. Anybody would understand.
We have aeroplanes that are sitting, literally sitting. Okay. Now, we know what it would cost to take the plane to the UK. We know what it would cost to take the plane. We have planes, right? What it would cost. The government actually, once again, has the resource. So, what do you do? Anyone who understands anything about the airline businesses, you don't need the plane to be full for you to break even, because they stagger the costs. For instance, if you book very early, it's almost free. Change that ticket and then you'll know what it could actually cost you.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is this. A message of this is what the flight costs. Now, please come up with a way either to pay or tell us how you are going to pay. This is what we are providing. It's a conversation. These are your citizens. We're not asking you to pay. Find a way, just like you're telling us, go and talk to your bank. All right, now, talk to your citizen and tell him, we know you have this problem. We can't give it to you for free. So tell us this plan. These people have relatives. They'll communicate. They'll come up with a plan. But the way it was...
But I guess it needs to start. It needs to start. Well, the communication has to start in one way. We have worked out a mechanism for taking you back home.
Yes.
And it's going to cost you the ticket.
Exactly.
So
See,
if you'd
the way
like...
in which you've said it now.
Look,
do you
that's
think
what
hear
they
the
have
way-
done.
No.
That's
No.
what they've
Why don't
done
you
in
just
the
read this thing
communication.
again? Eric, the paper. Which paper are you reading, by
Not
the way?
the paper, the proper communication. I keep telling you, don't look at the paper itself. That is reported. That is third person. The communication itself.
Yeah, but what did they say?
It says those who are willing to come. Hold on, I'm gonna read it for you shortly. It says those who are willing to come home.
You know the way in which you're saying it with that voice, Eric. It's not the way in which it came across.
Where is it?
All right, Eric, you'll get it.
The Embassy of the Republic of Kenya in Beijing wishes to collect ground truth data on Kenyans stranded in China who are ready to travel on chartered flight at their own cost under the following terms. You must be a Kenyan, you must be a holder of a Kenyan passport, you must pay for their own ticket, must be COVID-19 free with certificate to that effect, must be ready to undergo compulsory quarantine for 14 to 28 days on arrival in Nairobi. If you're ready to travel under these conditions, please fill up the above QR code so that the biodata reaches the embassy immediately.
That information was in the public domain.
That's the information that has been shared to the Kenyans in China.
Yes, but let me
ones
ask
in
my
Gwanju.
question again. That information, you see, I'm discussing
It's
what
in
I'm
public,
seeing.
yes.
So, but that information, I have not come across it. Yes. If I'd come across it, my discussion would have been very different. You see, this is where, again, we have a problem. We want to discuss something that has been presented to us in our papers, and yet there's other information that we probably needed to look into before we actually made our stand. There is no way you are going to blame the government when they've communicated in such a clear manner.
But also at the same time, what the point I was making was, it it ought to start somewhere. First of all, make it very clear that these are the conditions. You want to travel back home? Yes, we can provide for a chartered flight, but you'll pay and you agree to that. Now, if you want to come back and give feedback and say, I'll not be able to pay. I'd like to go home, but I cannot afford to pay up front. I'd like to discuss a payment mechanism. Then that also follows. But I think if you start the communication with, would you like to go home? Can you afford it? Or would you like us to help you? That conversation will take forever. Don't you think so?
But what you've read amounts to exactly that, what you just said. But it starts with, look, this is what we have in place.
Yeah.
All right, we want to do ABCD. Now, if you fit into this category, do ABCD. But they've given you information by which you can go back.
Which you can at least start with.
Yes.
However, there are very many Kenyans who are saying, well, I've been here, I'm jobless, I'm not able to
no.
home. The story here says, actually, loan us cash to pay for tickets. Kenyans in India are pleading. They're saying, please just give it to us as a loan, all right? And we will pay. We'll find ways of paying. It's just that we can't pay the whole cost up front. But we can afford to pay this ticket. Let's take a look at the weather shortly. It's 19 minutes after 6 o'clock. This is the situation. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Taking a look at what's been covered in the newspaper headlines. Good morning.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
It's a rainy morning in Nairobi. Mostly cloudy conditions at 16 degrees. Thunderstorms to follow later, highs of 24 and lows of 15. In Nyeri, it's raining this morning at 16 degrees. We're likely to have thunderstorms in the afternoon, highs of 22 and lows of 15. Nakuru is cloudy this morning at 15 degrees, highs of 23 and lows of 14. Scattered thunderstorms forecasted for later on in the day. Eldoret at 13 degrees. It's a cool morning and cloudy as well. Thunderstorms with highs of 21 and lows of 13 for most of the afternoon. It's mostly cloudy in Kisumu, sprinkle, but will join the rest of the towns with rain in the afternoon, highs of 26 and lows of 19. Malindi is cloudy at 27 degrees, partly cloudy conditions to follow in the afternoon, highs of 31 and lows of 26. Mombasa is cloudy at 26 degrees, likely to be this way through most of the day with highs of 31. Kampala at 18 degrees is mostly cloudy. Thunderstorms expected later with highs of 24 and lows of 18. In Dar es Salaam, it's mostly cloudy at 24 degrees. Showers expected for the afternoon with highs of 32 and lows of 24. In Johannesburg, it's 11 degrees, it's clear skies, but sunny conditions to carry on through the afternoon, highs of 24 and lows of 8. Looking into Lagos, it's clear skies this morning at 27 degrees. As the sun comes up, the rain will come down, highs of 34 and lows of 27. And then into New York, the sun will shine this morning, 9 degrees throughout the day, highs of 13 and lows of 7. Paris is clear skies this morning, 13 degrees, partly cloudy conditions, but later on in the day, highs of 23 and lows of 11. Finally, in London at 10 degrees, it will be clear skies this morning all through the day, highs of 17 and lows of 9.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Look at the headlines. Remember, you can download the Standard e-paper app from Google Play Store and Apple App Store. Just one subscription fee. And you get to access the Standard newspaper on your digital devices from wherever you are worldwide. So what is interesting in the Standard this morning, City?
What is interesting is an article on page 20 under the subtitle of coronavirus, and it's with reference to Kisumu market. There's a market in Kisumu, a very famous market known as Kibuye Market. It was shut down and then it was supposedly relocated. Now, this is one of these cases where, you know how you talk about jumping from the frying pan into the fire? This one actually just bypassed the frying pan. It went straight into the fire. The congestion is infinitely worse than what was in Kibuye Market. Now, to make matters infinitely worse, it is next to the dump site.
Nice.
So now it is crowded. The people who work within that space tell you there's no shelter, no shade, so they can't keep their masks on the whole day. And according to the report in the Standard, the County Director for Communication said that they are going to send administration staff, or let me call them what they are, enforcement officers to ensure that this distance is actually created. How this is going to be done isn't detailed here, but this is not a disaster in the making. This is an ongoing disaster.
Right.
Because if enforcement officers confront this particular group of people, you may have a problem on your hands. And they perhaps needed to have thought this thing through before actually implementing it, because people do need to go to the marketplace and they do need to be served.
So let me understand something. The reason for moving them from the market to the stadium was COVID related.
Yes, it
we
was.
don't want this congestion. So then you take them out and then you move them into the stadium. Which
No,
is
outside the stadium, not inside.
Outside the stadium.
There's space outside
and
the
the
stadium.
space in this outside the
It's
stadium is
inadequate. If
even
you know the
more
place,
congested
it's very, very inadequate.
than the market itself.
Infinitely.
Next to a dump site.
Yes.
So this seems to me that it was an exercise in futility.
That is to put it really very mildly.
Okay.
Yes. But you have, if you are talking, you're talking about a crowded environment in which it is very easy to contact or to come into contact with COVID-19. This is just it.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the traders among themselves, but people coming to actually do business with the traders.
Right.
So it's a disaster.
Interesting.
Clearly this thing, I'm sure at the time they were trying to implement it, they thought it was well thought out. It's now evident that it wasn't very
It was
well
not.
thought.
I think logical thinking is a weapon that is going to be used to fight COVID, and until and unless that is employed, we're going to have a lot of problems.
We will have a lot of problems.
And people just accepting, okay, so this one we made a mistake, let's retreat.
Go back to
Let's
the
go
market.
back to where we were, or just say split the numbers. If we're trying to
There's an
decongest,
argument
say
that they
half
wanted,
the number remains at Kibuye, the other half goes to the new. venue.
Again, there was this argument, the discussion that the area around the stadium was intended for wholesalers. Something wasn't clear here.
Okay.
Because where were the retailers going to go to?
So the idea was move the wholesalers out of Kibuye, take them to near the stadium.
Yeah, but they shut down Kibuye. So
Completely.
where were the retailers?
Where were they going to go?
Remember, we've had information in the media of people using road reserves to ply their business.
Yeah.
Yes. Where were the retailers supposed to go? Again, it's a reporting matter, and some of the things aren't clear. Maybe as the week goes along, we'll be able to get clarity as to what the county government had intended, what they put in place, and what is happening, and how they are hoping and planning to resolve this matter.
To resolve this.
Yes.
Okay. Well, a report having to do with some conspiracy. Did the virus escape from the Wuhan lab? And what does China know? This is on the front page of The Nation. The Wuhan 4.2 billion shilling lab is the largest virus bank in Asia and preserves more than 1,500 strains. U.S. diplomatic cables claim there are inadequate safety standards over researchers' handling of SARS-like bat coronaviruses. President Donald Trump now says the United States is doing a very thorough investigation into the claim. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has rejected allegations that the lab was responsible for the outbreak. And looking into this in more detail, now the claims, before it was just wild conjecture. People were saying things, having opinions that a virus could have escaped and because somehow entered into a market. Okay, a lot of stuff going on. But now, according to US President Donald Trump, he believes that there's some truth to this and says that we are not letting this one go. We will find out exactly what happened. And if this happens to be the case, China will have to pay for this one. 2, we've also seen that Germany has slapped China with a bill and said, because we've dealt with all of this.
Was that the government of Germany or some newspaper? I think I saw it like it was some newspaper tried to come up with a bill and send
it to China, and then put Angela Merkel's picture there saying that was
this is the German government,
all contributing to the fact that a lot of blame is being placed here.
The blame,
a lot of fingers are being pointed, and they seem to be pointed in the direction of China.
The blame is a fact. Sources, again, fact. But so if the president of America declares something to be an opinion, it doesn't make it a fact.
It doesn't. It doesn't. But you can imagine the rallying that he has. Because look, whether we like it or not, right? The amount of citizen support that Donald Trump still has in the United States is quite high.
It will also continue increasing. It is fine. But again, historically speaking, this sort of hysteria has often had very disastrous consequences for the people who've actually gone with it. Let's start with a small group of people who perhaps are in cults. Many of them follow their leader with a very large dollop of hysteria. Okay? The leader says, kill yourselves, people go around killing themselves.
And they die.
They say drink poison. Actually, you do die.
And they die.
you die completely.
Yes.
Okay? And then there's some who will tell you, even if you die, it doesn't matter, you will resurrect. You don't resurrect. Or if you resurrect, it's only you who knows you've resurrected. The point here is this. If you know anything about labs, there are very few spaces where the attention to security is taken into place like a lab. A lab that houses specimen, houses that biohazardous material. That Trump should speak, and yet CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, is probably the largest depot of the very same sort of pathogens that he's referring to. And you don't see anybody pointing a finger at America. Every time, even the numbers of influenza sort of like shoots up. You don't just saying, this lab of yours
came from your lab.
Exactly.
No.
Now, if you want to go conspiratorial, okay, where do you begin and where do you end?
Because
and
everything,
why this one virus? Why
right,
this one time?
This one time. Everything could be a conspiracy here. But look, like I said last week, I think that Trump is still smarting from the fact that this thing caught them off guard 100%, and they're playing catch up now, and never wanted to be in a position where the United States was playing catch up
it didn't catch
and looking
them
for somebody to blame.
No, it didn't catch them off guard.
It didn't.
It didn't. Obama warned them when they were going through the process of handing over. They were warned. America is among those countries in the world that actually has within its a medical corps, the military medical corps, they have an intelligence unit that does surveillance to try and understand the patterns and determine when it might occur. And they have access to all the intelligence agencies in the country. So their information is usually accurate. It is documented. It is in the public domain that long before even this case started being appearing early in February, they were warned. They were told. They were told. The president himself was told.
They just chose not to do anything about it in this case.
Oh, they did no.
And
they did no.
And they didn't think.
They were not inactive. They were not inactive.
They didn't think that they were going to see infections at the rate and depth in which it has happened in the United States.
They reacted.
They downplayed it.
They downplayed it.
That was their reaction.
They didn't think that they were going to see
they
this.
dismissed it.
They just said, well.
Yes.
They
knew.
They didn't do anything about
Forget
it.
WHO. Forget China. They were told by their own people.
And this is what I'm saying. They chose it because whether it would be looked at as a choice or not, they just didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
They didn't think it was going to infect and spread at the rate and depth at which it has. They didn't think it was going to happen. Not on the continental US.
At 25 minutes to 7, let's take a look at traffic and then the conversation continues. Remember, you can download the Standard e-paper app from Google Play Store, Apple App Store. Just one subscription fee. You get to access the Standard from wherever you are. And shortly, we'll be giving you the numbers to call if you'd like the Standard newspaper, the hard copy of the Standard newspaper delivered to you anywhere within the boundaries of the Republic of Kenya. Good morning. This is A Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation.
What it looks like. It's raining heavily in some parts of the city. On Mombasa Road, trying to get down then into the city centre. It's not much in terms of traffic, but you want to be careful because the roads are still slippery because of the rain that happened all night. Outer Ring entry from Komarak, looking good, but you want to take it easy there as well. Coming off Thika Road and then into the city centre, it looks good, guys. Not much happening. The thing is that we're just going to ask guys to be very careful today because the rain has come down properly. Okay, we'll let you know what it looks like in a short while, but for now it's looking good wherever you look. Spice of MKE, let us know what you see. We'll give you more information as it comes.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
This is A Situation. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. You'd like to get the Standard newspaper delivered right to your doorstep? If you're in the Nairobi metropolitan region, please call the number 0702 905941. That's 0702 905941. Anthony Mutunga will arrange for the delivery within the Nairobi metropolitan region. In the Mount Kenya region on the coast, 0702 905 780. That's 0702 905780. Benson Gitao is on standby to organize the delivery. In Rift Valley and the Nyanza regions, Marco Thiambo of 0776 756107. That's 0776 756107. They organize the delivery of the Standard newspaper to your doorstep anywhere within the Rift Valley and the Nyanza regions. This is a bold and factual newspaper, and it is safe to handle. Good morning. The Situation Room is now taking a look at the newspaper headlines. City, there's this story that started with the CS for Health saying some people took a vehicle from Nairobi, placed a coffin on the vehicle, and they were lying to officers on the route that they were going for a funeral, and it appeared not to be true. One of them, the driver of a vehicle, tested positive for COVID-19. And these are the extents to which Kenyans are going to try and break the rules that have been set in place by the government. Now, there's a new twist, because the driver in that Homa Bay funeral saga disowns the test results and also at the same time says, but look, we actually carried a coffin, yes, and it was delivered to a funeral home, yes, and there was a burial that followed that. There was also another story that emerges that, well, there was another vehicle that even went for another funeral again within the same Nyanza region. What is what?
If you read that story, the driver is reported to say he is not feeling sick.
Yeah.
And because he's not feeling sick, he
cannot
not sick.
be positive.
So
That's
he
why
cannot
he's
be
denied
positive.
the result.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is what is coming out. But this isn't really new. Remember, most of our people understand illness to be the same as feeling unwell.
Maumivu.
Yes, ikizidi. If you are not feeling unwell, then you cannot be sick. Again, it's a problem.
Especially if you are not being given any medicine.
How can you be sick?
So what are you treating me for?
It's a problem that we've had with antibiotics because antibiotics are supposed to be taken over a certain period of time. But you will start feeling a lot better before you've finished that particular requirement or you've accomplished it. So many people develop resistance to some of these medications simply because of their understanding of illness. For the longest time, getting people to understand that they were HIV positive was very difficult because they were not feeling unwell. So how could they be positive? Now then came the word positive. But you said I was positive. Yes. It means you have it. No, but positive means I'm good, I'm better. I said no. In this case, you see, this driver may have read or may have heard about the symptoms that people who are unwell and who have been infected in a severe state would exhibit. As far as he's concerned, since he doesn't have any of these, he cannot possibly be. Now, this is where that counseling element comes in, where even as you want to send someone into quarantine, I don't know whether the government does this, and if they are, then they need to perhaps step it up a little bit. Getting to a point where you explain what it means. The test doesn't mean you'll have a high fever. The test simply indicates that you have the virus in your body. You may not have a fever, you may not have any joint aches, you may not be feeling unwell, but you are still COVID-19 positive.
Now, remember, there's the issue of the communication of the test results.
That one is
also
a problem.
emerging here.
That's
He
a
says his samples were taken on Thursday afternoon, and then in the middle of the night, around 3 a.m., is when he heard nurses talking, and they were asking themselves, "Who is Kevin?" And then he stood at the balcony and asked, "Are you people asking about Kevin or Kelvin? Because my name is Kelvin." And he was told, "Yeah, you are COVID-19 positive."
Like that?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And from that point on, now he learned he's COVID-19 positive. We've seen these complaints emanating even from very many other people who say, we only see when the CS is saying from quarantine facilities, X number of people have turned positive.
But in terms of giving us those results on an
The actual
individual
result,
basis, it doesn't happen.
many of them don't get it.
You see, we have a problem here.
Yeah, yeah.
And this communication about results was mentioned in whispers is now getting louder and louder and louder. And it's actually going to interfere with this process of testing and in understanding what our numbers are and in communicating to the public what it is that should understand or believe. Because this is now a message of disbelief. Someone's going to say, no, I need to be shown those results.
Yeah,
Forget being told.
Yeah.
Someone
And
come
this
and
is
say,
the
I need
thing.
to be shown. So what are you going to do?
And the negative spreads like wildfire because look at this. Somebody just happened to hear on a balcony two people having a conversation. It could have been Kevin. It could have been Kelvin. God knows. It could have been anybody anywhere. So guess what? Anybody then who comes later on and they want to test this individual or want to take you into quarantine, what do you think they're going to say? They're going to say no because
I'm unlikely to
the
suspend my
likelihood-
judgment on this one.
No,
here
but
because
the likelihood of that's the belief that you're going to go with because
You
the
will.
likelihood of your test results being bungled or you being given the wrong information then is high.
It's high.
Based on this that you have heard.
It is, but I'm not even sure he heard it because that's him reporting. So I'm suspending that one. I'm putting that one aside. He had 2 nurses. Nobody has corroborated. I'm putting it aside. What I'm focusing on is we know the length. This thing takes 3 hours. Known. The testing?
3 hours.
3 hours, not 24 hours. So let's say you want to cross-check, give it 24 hours.
Right.
Even within 24 hours, we had a health practitioner telling us about her results.
True.
This is someone who knows
It's
what
possible
should
to
go
get your results within the 24 hours.
You can.
So there's an issue here of transporting the samples from this place to KMTC. Where were the test results? Were the samples taken? Kisumu. right? From the quarantine facility to Kemri, Kisumu, and then the results being transmitted back to the person. The issue I think that is emerging here is this person has not been given the results and told, look,
These are
the
yours.
samples that we took and we've come back, and this is a
By the
proper
way,
procedure
don't-
of communication.
It's not as though they give you back the samples. No.
No,
It's
not
a-
the
it's
sample,
a
but the
result. You
results.
Yes,
They
exactly.
have
It's
the
a
piece of
batch.
paper.
It has
Yeah.
a number. It has a name attached to it. Since this isn't research, the name is probably, you know who the person is. All right. You can identify. You have to be able to identify the person with the results. So all they do is transmit those results. Okay. And there's a process to it. Now, when you talk about testing of this nature, again, I go back to HIV, viral load testing. You take the sample, blood sample, you take it to the lab. You see, sometimes the lab was not near the place where the sample was taken. So there's the transportation of the sample to the lab.
Yes.
The lab may not necessarily be the lab where it is tested. It could be the lab where it is just stored before it is transported to the lab
To
where
the
the actual
testing
testing
lab.
is taken. Now, with the time it was understood that there were delays, and over the years, what they did was to try and ensure that you reduce this time. So, and it was communicated to you. And you knew the process, so you would even know where it was stuck, if it was stuck. When the results came back, it came with the individual. You knew who the individual was. You knew what the results was. We have this lacking in this situation here. That clarity isn't there. And that is a huge problem.
This is what Kelvin is basically saying. I think
on
from the
that-
very beginning, if you were saying that my samples were taken at this time and I was told to wait within the next 24 hours,
He will wait.
The communication will come. And within that 24 hours, medical personnel comes and tells him, look, we took your samples, the results are back. And this is what we found. You've tested COVID-19 positive. Now, from this point on, this is what is going to happen to you. We're going to move you from here. We're going to take you into an isolation facility. And because you're not exhibiting any symptoms, we're not going to put you in any medication. We're just putting you there so that the virus runs its course. And then we'll keep testing. And once you test negative twice within 24 hours, we'll release you and let you go back home. All that information. This man is sitting there. He does not know why he's in a hospital, because he's not receiving any treatment. He is not coughing. All those symptoms that the government keep telling us.
He's not exhibiting.
He's not coughing. He has no fever.
He doesn't have
talking
aches in his
about
body.
Yeah, he doesn't have any body aches. So he's wondering, what's wrong?
And with the absence of that information, this is why you see that he's gone in and he's speculating and saying, I'm not even sick. So
I'm not
those
sick.
results are not mine.
Yeah.
His
And this is the
conclusion-
danger, right?
Get me out of here.
But in a sense, you can't blame him, because in the absence of
can't.
the necessary information, he is going to come to his own conclusion. And that conclusion is what many others who hear this story are going to come to as well. Number one, why should I go and get tested if you're going to bungle my results? Number two, why should I then go into a facility if I am not exhibiting any symptoms? Number three, somebody who they supposedly tested is not exhibiting symptoms. He said those results are not his, but he's trapped in there. I'm not going.
Yeah.
He is even right to ask, how do I know those are my results?
Exactly. And when you get to the point whereby something like that, it took you 2 minutes to explain just now what you could essentially explain to somebody
It was
else.
less than 2 minutes.
Less than 2 minutes. So how do you explain to other people? The problem is, the danger that lies here is that if you don't take that 2 minutes to tell people exactly what is going on, others who would also benefit from this are not likely to present themselves because they're not getting the necessary information.
You know,
And that's one of
you
the
know,
tools that we
Eric,
can
But
use.
the information
It's one
in
of the
public
tools
is
that we
this
can use
man
to
is
fight
being
this thing.
punished.
Exactly.
He's being punished for
For
driving a
driving
vehicle
people
from
to
Huruma in
Homa Bay.
Nairobi to take them to a funeral.
Yeah, he's being punished, and that's it. So anybody else who may genuinely have a problem here is not going to present themselves. And this is, look at it. They talk about fighting the pandemic is what we're trying to do now. This is one of the things, the tools that you can use to fight this is honesty, down to the very basic level. And if it is not
And
used,
proper communication.
I'm telling you.
Yesterday we were talking about the protocols that the government ought to have or does have, but we don't know about regarding COVID. You see, anytime you take someone's specimen, you really do need to explain to them what it is you're going to do with it
Yes.
and what they should expect. Before you even take the test, you explain.
You explain
Yeah.
to them, we're taking this,
This is what
for
we're going to
this.
do.
This is what we are going to do, and this is what you can expect. Those three things.
And give them a time span. And,
Yeah.
and in the meantime, this is what is going to happen to you. And this is what positive means this. You have to explain this. Negative means
Means
this.
this.
This means this. So this is what we're going to do. Have you understood? Okay. Can you tell us what you have understood? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now we are now going to take the test. You know, all this does not take more than 2 minutes.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And the person will understand. They'll understand I've tested positive, even though I do not have any of those symptoms.
All Kelvin is hearing is that he's being punished for driving people.
He has been
to
announced
Malindi.
on TV, on
Yeah.
national TV, by a CS, and he's being punished because he was reckless and careless, and he left Nairobi, and he broke the curfew, and he broke the cessation of movement rules, and he went all the way to transport an empty coffin.
He did. But that doesn't justify what he is talking about. He broke those rules. Yes, everything they're saying, true, tick, tick.
Yes.
But why has this man not been given the requisite information regarding the testing, and then regarding his results, and then regarding his status, and regarding the situation he finds himself in? Why?
Even the rules, by the way, he didn't break them. There was a funeral,
My brother.
and they had proper documentation and papers from Nairobi. And they are saying...
No. Nairobi. Wait. Nairobi from whom exactly?
From an administration officer in Nairobi.
Abana, Eric.
How did they pass
If
the police?
you
the
are,
police?
if you are,
because we are showing
you went to
papers.
Blue Post, now it's done. Eric, if you are in Nairobi, you're not supposed to leave Nairobi. It's not complicated. You are a resident of Nairobi, you don't leave Nairobi. Or I misunderstood.
No, you didn't.
No, you're not supposed to leave. It doesn't matter whether you have papers. It's the same
They
as
were
that
going for a
gentleman
funeral.
you are talking to, who was an essential service provider,
They were
and who
going-
went on Easter to.
They were going for a
to
funeral, and they were
somewhere.
transporting.
No,
I think
there
what-
are rules about the. No, Eric. The only rule I'm focusing on is
Don't
if
leave
you
Nairobi.
you don't leave Nairobi. That's it.
But
Shikenan.
That's it. And kama uko nje ya Nairobi, usikuje Nairobi.
Usikuje.
Full stop.
and
There's
if
no
you're
other
leaving
complication.
Nairobi, if you're going for a funeral, then you're transporting the body of that person.
But was that a body?
No, there was not body.
So leave that thing a bit.
Eric,
All right.
you've supported
11
the guy
minutes
well. You're in sawa kabisa, lakini the protocol and the details of how this thing should be managed is still not clear. Somebody
That's the
goes to
point.
hospital, it's not clear.
That's
And
the
this
point.
lack of clarity is a problem.
It's a problem. It's a problem.
Quick commercial break at 11 minutes to 7 o'clock. This is A Situation amidst Kenya's biggest conversation. Good morning.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
So there's some news breaking on CNN this morning, right? And this is with regards to the supreme leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un. Apparently he's in hospital and he's in critical condition.
So,
How long has he been there?
Who knows? Would they tell you?
Yeah, they wouldn't really.
Even this is basically information just coming from intelligence sources and all, talking about the U.S. is monitoring intelligence that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is in grave danger after surgery, according to a U.S. official.
So he's had a procedure, and it is said that the procedure was because of excessive smoking, obesity, and overwork, according to a news site. And he was supposed to be receiving treatment following this procedure. But now, according to the medical team treating him in Pyongyang, his condition has gotten worse, and it is said that he's on life support after the procedure. So
And it isn't COVID related.
no, it isn't in this case. So
It's because of working too hard.
And if it were, would we know?
there's
Who
another
wouldn't
question.
either.
If it was, he'd be the first case in North Korea, that's for sure.
There was an,
Or he'll be the second live case in North Korea.
Well, let's see how this unfolds. The information is not coming from any official source in North Korea. Even
No.
the U.S. officials who are being quoted are not speaking officially. They're just being quoted as having leaked this information, intelligence briefings that are going round.
the
Right.
beauty of such information is in the fullness of time, we'll get to know. But there's something here that has appeared in the papers, and it's with regards to oil.
Yes.
The cost of it and what it should cost. But what I have found a bit worrying is the headlines on the Financial Standard on page 3. Skewed tendering system earns fuel importers bumper payday. There is talk of what the landed cost of this fuel is. 40 bob.
Yep.
40 shillings. Of course, in an earlier time, which is often referred to as the good old days, it was 30 shillings. And now an unprecedented drop in the cost of a litre of the super petrol in this month's pricing guide at 18 shillings. But what is also interesting is that because of the trade wars that some countries have with each other and whatever is ongoing, they're saying that there are countries that are willing to pay people to actually take the oil off them. They have more oil than they know what to do with.
The futures for May have basically just fallen below $1, below $0.
Yes.
Right. So basically, it's free oil.
$11 a barrel. I mean, is what we're looking at global prices now. It has not been this low in 20 years, and it's explainable because airlines are not buying. There's no need to produce.
There's no demand.
There's no demand. Airlines are not buying. People are not going anywhere. The world, you can imagine how much they were consuming on a daily basis.
They're not
Global
moving.
airlines, nobody's moving. So you're
Cars
not
are
going
not moving.
Cars are not moving. So you're not going to. First of all, you're not going to produce.
Trains are
fuel.
not moving.
So 20 years, $11 a barrel, who would have thunk it? Whereby, 18 months ago, you were looking at a barrel at $80+. And so it's you talk about, I read a
Basically,
story
it's even
yesterday.
gone
When
below that 11. It's at -0, right?
Yes, it has.
It's going all the way. It's the cost of a negative. It's at a negative oil price. It means that the cost of refining and storing it is now higher than the cost of the oil itself. So you bring out the oil from the ground, and then it costs you to refine, to store, to start selling it.
which is essentially more than this $11.
Yep.
So that's what we're looking at now. All right. So the same way in which you have schools have closed. If you want to look at the United States as an example, schools have closed. So you can imagine all the suppliers, from milk to vegetables to dry grain. And we're talking about a vast number of people where they have school programs so intricate that, across the board, they're supplying on a daily and huge amounts, and then suddenly, in a day, that doesn't go. You have people in the grain producing states up north, and the tuber producing states, potatoes and things like that. One day, the next day, nothing. Who had planted acres and acres and acres ready to harvest come spring, and there is nothing. You have people throwing away milk by the thousands of gallons into manure pits. The same thing is happening now with oil. It's been drilled. It's waiting for production. Nothing is going to happen until this opens up.
You know, it's interesting.
It's gone to as low as negative $40 a barrel.
You see, for us, why this
Negative 40. So how?
Yes, and for us, what is interesting is that we are still paying a premium.
I tell you, still buying fuel at 90 shillings.
But that's where the story comes in, right? It talks
Yes.
about the tendering system. So this is what happens in the oil industry in the country. There's one company that's mandated to supply oil to the market, and you all operate on a tender system. So let's say we have 3 companies. We tender to supply. The one with the lowest is one, of course, that wins, and then you
Right.
supply. Now, this particular case is showing where the tender that had been submitted was for fuel that had been bought a month earlier, in March. And this is the one that still won the tender. So the back and forth, and maybe you can come back and look at that story, because I think it needs to look at, we need to get into a depth of it. The issues of oil in the country and the fights and the intrigues that they keep fighting over, you may find some information is usually skewed just to settle a score. But as we get to the top of the hour, CT, what's today's proverb?
Today's proverb is one of those proverbs that are actually improbable, but yet that is the beauty of it. Essentially, what we're saying is that by trying hard enough, a
Donkey.
donkey can actually learn how to climb down from a tree.
By
Oh,
trying
not
hard
climb up
enough.
a tree.
No, climb
Oh.
down from.
Oh, so we're assuming it was up the tree.
Yeah, we're
first.
assuming it was
Yes.
up there in the first place.
I just had
Good
a light
morning.
bulb moment.
7 o'clock.
Okay. Still wet conditions in major parts of the city this morning. We see that Jogo Road specifically. Please, guys, be very careful here because extremely slippery. Trying to get towards the city center, and matatus are carrying loading excess. Guys, be very careful here. Have your masks on and don't agree to get into a public service vehicle that is already full. Do not. It's what we're saying. Protect yourselves and others as well. Namanga Road at the East African Portland Cement, trying to get then onto Mombasa Road, is flowing well, trying to get into the city. Not much happening there. The rain is what is going to hold people back today, this morning, not necessarily traffic as such. Roundabout Mombasa Road, then heading towards Cabanas, is starting to build up just a little bit. The the road there is still being worked on, so you want to approach with caution. It'll take you a very short time to get out of it, though. It's not anything that will cause too much of a headache. All right, looking at other parts of the city, coming off Thika Road today, not so bad either. Getting into the city centre via the Pangani underpass, it's flowing smoothly, not much of a hold up there. Coming out of Westlands and then on to Waiyaki Way, you won't have too much of an issue either. Spice of MKE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter. Let us know what you see. We'll give you more information as we go along.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and
thank you very much
Eric
for tuning into
Latin.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting in Nairobi on 94.4, Malindi 97.7, Nyeri 90.9, Nakuru 96.0, 96.7 in Eldoret, 102.5 in Kisumu, and 87.9 in Mombasa. We are live streaming the show on www.spicefm.co.ke. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Spice FM KE is the handle for each of those platforms. platforms. Now, we were talking about the oil prices, the global oil price, the Kenyan oil issue. I mean, this is an issue that keeps coming up back and forth. And I think let's just start from the very basics. There's an open tender system for oil imports in the country, right? And this is basically open.
We are informed that there is an open tender system. Let's continue.
Yes, there is an open tender system.
All right.
And this is how it operates, in that the oil marketers are free to participate in the oil open tender system. At the beginning of every month, you come in as marketers and you're saying, if you have the capacity to go and import, we are going to allow one company to import for the market. And this basically just plays around with the economies of scale. If you're all going to have one company going to import in bulk, then that company can go and negotiate good prices. And what that company just does is to place on its tender documents how much it's going to charge at landed cost for its oil. And the one with the least, the lowest bid, of course, gets the tender. And you're told, all right, you're the one who's going to supply for the next month. You're the one who's going to supply right now. Of course, I think they should be bidding now for April or May, I think May. And you're told now you're the one who's going to supply to the market for May, the bulk of the oil that comes into the country. The kind of business this is, it requires serious pockets. Deep pockets. So you'll find that not many, of course, the many small independent companies will not be able to participate. The big companies are going to be able to participate. Now we are seeing in this story, it's quoting Galana Oil. Galana Oil is one of those that are operating in the country. It has petrol stations in the country, and those petrol stations are the ones called Delta, right? So Galana Oil is an importer, and it's the one that's being quoted here. It's the one that had won the tender that provided the oil that is being consumed in this month of April, from 15th of April to 14th of May. And so how did they, what price had they quoted? Whatever price they had quoted. But kumbe, they had gone and bought their oil in advance.
In advance.
Right? Maybe in their mind they were trying to play the market so that they think if the oil price shoots up, we'll already have bought our oil and we can always keep bidding and we'll always be the lowest bidder because we've already secured for a long time to provide the market. Then they are caught by this drop, the drop in fuel prices. But you've already presented your bid.
So you've already bought the oil.
And you present your bid anyway, because you can still go at a loss. But if you still are the lowest bidder, it means that the other persons who are competing with you had bought their oil at a higher cost. So the lowest bidder still continue to supply. And that's what has happened here. So when I see this story of skewed tendering system, I'm always one of those people who I'm a firm supporter of this OTS and the petroleum formula.
What do you base your firm support on?
Because I keep saying it provides that sense of stability. Takes us back to those days.
That's what's being questioned here.
Yeah, it takes us back. No, it takes us back to those days when, remember, there's a time when you'd see that oil prices have dropped and you find a shortage at the pump. You drive into petrol stations and you're told, Mafuta imeisha. Do you remember the last time you ever saw that? It's been a while since you last saw petrol stations telling you, we don't have petrol, Mafuta imeisha, because they're waiting for a time in the middle of the night so that they can adjust the price, right? So fuel hoarding is a thing of the past. Right now, you know how much you're paying for this oil is at 92 shillings, and you know it's 92 shillings for the month. Or whatever the fluctuation, even if the price went high to $150,000, you would still be paying 92 bob.
But you also know that what you're paying for has to do with government taxes also.
That's the other issue.
Right. So essentially what happens in this case?
The problem here is not the OTS or the formula. The problem is the government and the taxation.
Then why would there be a report on this particular tendering system or this formula being skewed? Because they have raised, from what I can read, they have raised...
Come to the mic.
Yes, they have raised valuable points. The only thing, why I say it's valuable, because I don't really understand it.
I think the politics around this, even the time when the OTS was being introduced, there were some players who wanted to continue playing riffraff, and they were really fighting the OTS.
I think what also happens
and you find
in this case
happens a lot. The people who may have may have been the sources that have provided this information, this detailed information to the writers of the story, may be playing a game.
Essentially, what you're saying is that they themselves may have given a skewed reporting
yes.
that seems to favor a particular side.
Yes.
I think this is something I will want to read a little bit more on.
Please do.
And then I want to come and talk about a little bit more tomorrow. Because it is very, very possible that in a country where we have very slowly but very surely been moved and conditioned into doubting everything, even things which are straightforward, you could be raising concerns, yes, but you could be casting aspersions as something which is actually fairly clear and straightforward, and feeling that there is actually doubt, and yet there is no doubt. And which, if you ask an expert, they would explain to you, and it becomes fairly obvious.
It becomes obvious.
Very, very obvious as to what is actually going on. Yes. So, I will rest my case.
It would be interesting at one point to actually talk to. There's a gentleman called Nyoike, Patrick Nyoike. He was the PS for energy.
He was PS Energy.
He was PS Energy when OTS was introduced and when the formula was introduced and the reforms in the energy sector were introduced, even introducing the Energy Regulatory Commission at that point. Now it's an authority. All those reforms that were geared towards streamlining and ensuring that the energy sector functions well. Also, that time, energy sector was also looking at the decentralization of either you are a producer of energy, that is, you are Kengen, you are a distributor, you are Ketraco, or you are a last mile distributor, you are Kenya Power. Those things happened under Patrick Nyoike's tenure.
But the thing that I find interesting from what I have read here, there is this particular company called Galana Oil. They import and they also retail.
Yes.
These are the deep pockets that Eric was giving.
Yeah, the deep pockets is good, but my mind screams conflict of interest.
It doesn't. Well, okay.
My mind.
It shouldn't. That's what I should have said.
Yes,
it shouldn't.
Carry on.
It shouldn't. Well, you see, if you're able to import, you can also still play on the other side. Because at that point of playing on the other side, you're basically looking at having the capacity to distribute.
It's how you can be a wholesaler and a retailer at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at a much broader scope of this particular discussion. And this is the discussion on which a lot of government business has actually rested. Should people in government employment also be involved in business with the same government? Because that's what it gets to. If I am a manufacturer and then I'm a retailer, I start out with an advantage, don't I? Don't I?
Yeah, for sure.
Because there is no rule. Look, this is what I've brought my oil at. Willing buyer, willing seller. It's not so. If I have my outlet will be advantage.
Yes,
that's really what I'm looking at.
Yes, but there's a condition here in the OTS. In the OTS, the condition is that you're going to supply to the entire market. That's why you're the only. Before that, the big importers would also be able to really play the market because they're also playing the retail end. There's one huge company that had like a 25 or above % market share of petrol stations.
That's huge.
Right? That company, you would drive into every 5 petrol stations, one of them is theirs. And it was 5 bob higher than the rest. But because they've imported, they're also selling, and there's no condition that sets them above everybody else. That's why the OTS was introduced. So in order to protect the small guys who are operating in the last mile, let's have one tender. You have been contracted. Basically, you've been contracted by the market to bring for them oil, and you shall sell it to them at this agreed price.
The doesn't mean I agree. The means I've heard. Oh dear.
Shall we look at what's happening in West Pokot?
Let's look at what's happening in West Pokot. It is not a repeat of what happened in December. It is a multiplied repeat of what happened. Because the optics, you're seeing mudslides, covering houses. I know that one will suffocate you and you will die. You are seeing buildings destroyed by mudslides. You're seeing people displaced. Tricky here because they are all going to be put and rounded up in one place. Where social distancing will have gone out of the window completely. Then there are the health issues, same health issues we discussed in December. Same. This time it's going to be worse because now we also have COVID-19. Then there'll be the issue of feeding these people. Then there'll be the issue of access. How do you get to them? No drama of 3 helicopters and 40 health workers here now. No. The health workers are stuck in health facilities because they're dealing with a problem that we already have. So now, this problem of flooding is going to get a completely new picture, because you're going to realize just how serious the problem actually is. Now that it's like they're being told, county, you're on your own here. Have you heard of a government plan to sort out this problem? No. We didn't hear of a very comprehensive one when we talked about the same issue in December. But this isn't the government has got it wrong. No. This is the status quo that we're always talking about and which we're saying we need to move away from. Where you have an issue that you understand, you know about. The Met has told you it's going to rain. We know what happens. You've had the lake rising. We know. Apart from it rising, do you hear of any concrete plan to help those people who have been displaced? You don't hear of it. We are being told about the locusts. Locusts, in order of things on that food chain, it has gone far, far back.
Yeah.
And it hasn't gone away.
The locusts are here.
So we are going to be dealing in the not too distant future, famine. When I say famine, not because suddenly there's a drought. Famine because people are going hungry and there's no food because you can't reach them and you can't get to them. Diseases have multiplied because of waterborne diseases. COVID is still a problem and it's going to be exacerbated. These are places where people, just by the virtue of the place, they were social distancing just because of where they live. Now you're going to bring them together. And then you are going to be talking about perhaps providing them with food, again reaching them, sending them money. We've had health, we've had trading centers completely submerged, decimated, destroyed.
I had a conversation with somebody who said to me yesterday, well, you know what? It's rain and after some time it's going to stop. But I think we need to put it into perspective. This major landslide that took place last year in West Pokot, we need to understand that they have not recovered from it.
No, they haven't.
Okay? There were still children and there were still entire families who were living in schools. So we also understand that when schools opened in January,
some people didn't go to school.
Some people didn't go to school. Families have not returned home. Okay? They were still trying to move people who had not been affected to other parts where the land was not so loose. Right? So they were still dealing with the after effects and aftershocks of what happened with that major landslide at that time. Other things then happened. We must understand as well that with the new vegetation that came into place in West Pokot, the locusts also affected this area. All right? So there was a compounded issue at that point. All of this happened, and then come April 2020, other landslides now came in. They were still dealing with the one that happened before. And then now we introduce this. And we now need to understand, when you say that entire markets have been submerged, people who are in another area might think that it's a puddle of water with which you must wear boots to then traverse. We're talking about water being overhead. Shelters where people were selling are underwater.
The height of water is above the building.
There we go. Above the building.
This is what you need to understand.
We have,
and houses are not built to swim.
The West Pokot County Commissioner telling us yesterday that there are some people who were in the market at the time.
Yes, of this.
And they have still not been able to track them or locate them.
Yes.
So likelihood of them having died is
high.
Is very, very high. So I was having this conversation. I had an out-of-body experience because I said, you know what? By the time we sit in other places where you're safe and say, well, somebody needs to do something, understanding the reality of what is really happening in that area.
It's exactly beyond you.
You can't.
Unless you've seen it.
You can't come in touch with it unless you've been there and seen it. So I actually had to take a moment and say, okay, submerge. Let's take this and pull it apart, really what it means. Submerged, entire livelihoods under water.
And that
underwater.
Mud, that mud is brought with water. The mud doesn't travel on its own.
Yeah.
No.
If there isn't mud, if it's a rocky place, and usually there has to be a hilly place that have these problems, let me tell you, an entire village can disappear. I have witnessed a village that had disappeared. On my way, this was in Suba. On my way from Migori, the village existed.
On the way back.
On my way back, after a couple of days,
there was nothing. Water.
They vanished, meaning that water came from the hills. It swept.
So it just swept away
If
everything.
you didn't know there was a village there, you would not know. Gone. Completely gone.
Every structure gone.
Gone. When I say gone, plus trees, gone. So what there's this real feeling. But the people lived here.
Yeah.
Not there.
They're not there.
And you can see the path the water followed. But when it comes, it goes, and that's it. But they're all gone.
They're gone.
So even bodies are not going to be found around the corner. The body will be found much further.
Downstream.
Then you'll likely find a new stream has been created by this water. Where there's a road, that road will have also been cut into.
Yeah.
It's not one of these things that are pleasant.
No, it really is not. And if we look at the reality of it, because you talked about the fact that early warning systems are in place. And let's go back. The Met had told us in December that the rains would come. Now, in January, they told us that the rains are likely to last until June. The problem here was that we had about a month where there were no rains. Okay? Between now, January and March, it really didn't rain around the country. Now it has come back. But the thing is, they told us. They said this was going to happen.
It would be difficult to know exactly where the next landslide is going to be.
No. That you don't know.
Actually, Eric,
Because the kilometers from here
Allow
to-
me to correct Eric here. In theory, what you're saying is true, but we know the areas that are prone.
You have
landslides.
prone areas.
So
right?
if they are prone, for instance, do you remember the Gabians?
It's
that
an
were-
entire county that's
Yes.
prone.
Do you remember?
So would you move everybody?
No, it's not the entire county. There's certain parts of the county that are not as hilly.
Because this particular place hasn't had a landslide
No, it
in
hasn't.
many years.
No, it hasn't had a landslide in many years. But remember, when you've had a landslide, it means whatever loose soil was there was moved. So now there's firmer soil. So the likelihood is that where it hasn't happened is where it's most likely to happen now. Remember these gabions that were built in the time of President Daniel Arap Moi? Gabions are supposed to forestall these things. The planting of trees, remember we said, we harvest trees, but we do not
You
replant.
don't replant.
Yes, exactly. So this isn't a problem that occurred because of the rains. No. We are being caught up with years of neglect. Things that should have been done, which weren't being done or ignored. Now you're seeing the cost of it having been done. Because had they been done, this problem,
be
it would
better.
have rained, yes, people would have had a few problems, but what we're seeing now would not have occurred.
Let's take a pause and take a look at weather, and then we come back and continue this conversation. What's happening around the country, especially now with increased rain.
All right. Still mostly cloudy in Nairobi.
Classic
Showers
soul,
expected in, or
R&B,
rather, still experienced in
small
most parts of the
jazz,
city.
neo
But likelihood of
soul,
thunderstorms
and
in the afternoon. Highs of
nostalgic
24 and lows
You're
of
listening to
15.
Spice
It's light rain
FM.
showers in Nyeri at 16 degrees. Thunderstorms to follow with highs of 26 and lows of 15. Nakuru is cloudy at 16 degrees. Likelihood of rain showers to start early today. Quite high. 23 degrees the high. Lows of 14. Cloudy conditions in Eldoret at 14 degrees. Showers to continue throughout the day. Highs of 21 and lows of 13. Kisumu at 18 degrees is partly cloudy, but high chance of rain starting early. Highs of 26 and lows of 17. Malindi at 27 degrees is cloudy this morning, partly cloudy conditions to follow through the day. Highs of 31 and lows of 25. 26 degrees in Mombasa and mostly cloudy conditions throughout today. Light rain showers expected in the afternoon. Taking a look then into Kampala, 19 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. Thunderstorms expected later with highs of 24 and lows of 18. It's 25 degrees in Dar es Salaam and it will be rainy in the afternoon. A warm day though, highs of 32 and lows of 24. In Joburg, it's 11 degrees and clear skies all through the day. Sunny conditions in the afternoon with highs of 24 and a chilly low of 8. In Lagos at 27 degrees, it's clear skies, highs of 34 and lows of 27. As the rest of the world is waking up, we take a look in New York. It's still early morning, but it'll be clear skies at 9 degrees, highs of 13 and lows of 7. In Paris at 13 degrees, it's clear skies and a sunny day with highs of 23 and lows of 11. And then finally in London at 10 degrees, it's clear skies and sunny conditions all through with highs of 17 and lows of 9.
Chilled Spice.
The Situation Room is Kenya's biggest conversation in the room. We have Eric Latif, Nduoko, and CT.
Mature
looking at the what's happening to fellow Kenyans in parts of the country where it's been raining heavily in the last couple of days. We are seeing Chesogon mudslide death toll now hitting 12 as experts are warning over Lake Victoria's backflow. This is what we've been discussing here. The pictures on the Daily Nation this morning on page 10 are showing, distraught people who residents carry the body of Winnie Chepkorir Richard, who was 14 years old, on a makeshift stretcher from Arondine village in West Pokot County to their home in Kowau village, Elgeyo Marakwet County yesterday. So you see, their bodies are being found on the other side of the county. This 14-year-old girl was found in a village in West Pokot, and they're now transporting the body back to Elgeyo Marakwet. That's where her home is.
Yeah.
Swept, taken away. Mud and debris is all that remained at Chesogon Trading Center following the tragedy. Jane Chepto and her neighbor Tala Kipto weep after the body of Winnie Chepkorir was found kilometers away from their home. It's distressful. And looking at them and, seeing they're sitting here, they're wondering, do we have a national government? Do we have a county government? Are our governments able to sort us out? Is the government able to react fast enough to deal with this humanitarian crisis that's unfolding? The Kenya Red Cross, of course, we know is always ready. It's always on the ground, fast on the ground. Is conducting rescue missions in Chesogon and outlying areas. Hundreds sought shelter under trees and in caves after their homes were swept away. These are people who are looking for the basics, gone back to that bottom of the pyramid. We're looking for shelter, we're looking for food, we're looking for clothing.
The thing is that, because we say, unfortunately, if you live in an area that's prone to certain things, you can't stop it from happening, right? And that's never the point. You can't stop it from happening. It is going to happen. However, there are certain things that can be done. Because now, look, let's just say we are starting from scratch right now, okay? You know that there are certain areas of the country that are prone to things like this. Landslide, we're looking at parts of Nyanza where they're prone to flooding, and that year on year we get these stories of people who die, unfortunately, homes and livelihoods submerged because of A, B, C, D. It's not the only place in the world where this happens, right? Across the world, there are people who are prone. I mean, look at Japan, prone to earthquakes. You look at other parts of Southeast Asia, prone to typhoons and things like this. So there are certain measures that can be put in place, knowing with the foreknowledge that these things are going to happen. There are certain things that can be done. And I think that is a direction that governments need to take, knowing that we have these areas where the loss is insurmountable. When you look at lives that are lost, when you look at, children cannot go to school, markets have closed, people's livelihoods that have been extinguished, it then behoves to say, it is necessary to put these measures in place, knowing that these areas are prone to these things. We cannot stop the landslide. It is an act of nature. There's nothing we can do to stop it. If there's a shift in the weather patterns, there's going to be more rain in this area. We know that these things are going to happen and the earth will shift. It's shifting on a regular basis. However, with that knowledge, then there are things that we can do to mitigate the level of destruction.
It's something that one aspect of it, revolves around the same sort of debate we've had with regards to what sort of land area do you leave for animals and what do you leave for man.
Agriculture.
Yes.
And
Because
then for
as
living.
populations increase, what happens is people clear slopes to plant in and people clear slopes to build on. Now, it's a natural activity, but it also destabilizes that particular ecosystem. So if you have an area that is prone, for instance, to earthquakes, now most people don't know this, you don't necessarily have to feel an earthquake for it to have taken place.
No.
But that quake moves things, and that's what often causes landslides. If it is saturated with water, then it will again move. So there's debris, there's rocks, and there's soil, and there's all this. Now, again, there's the need to explain to people that perhaps you could, if you wanted to cultivate this is what you need to do. Clearly, that isn't done. People are left to make a decision for themselves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And in making that decision for themselves, they put their lives in danger without knowing so.
Right.
We also know the areas that are prone to this. Western part of the country, Rift Valley more than any other, Central Highlands. Remember, there was a time when in Muranga, every time it rained, there would be mudslides.
Yeah.
You in fact waited for it.
You know. You're just waiting for the news.
This is the thing that I'm saying here, because
Even
then you ask
Kiambu,
the
not
question.
very far, just Kiambu down the road here.
Right. Administration will ask the question, but how do I tell people not to plant or not to? This is the thing. It needs to be taken so seriously that you make it part of national policy. And you want to say how can that be done? Look at a country that like Rwanda that is majorly mountainous, hilly, all over. In fact, it's called the land of 1,000 hills, is it not? It's in their national policy that there are certain parts within the country that you cannot build, you cannot plant, you cannot. Because they realize that it is prone to, and this is what I'm talking about. It must be taken so seriously that it is legislated. If not, now is when we're running after ourselves, trying to make sure that now we can move people when it has already happened. But you can imagine if we had less people inhabiting the area, because we know from in advance that it is prone to certain things happening. What you do then is that you reduce the loss in an event when something like this happens. So it needs to be taken so seriously that it is discussed and implemented at a national level as far as the law is concerned. Otherwise, we see this.
And then there's also, of course, the issue of enforcement, because you could find that there's a policy like that. You don't get surprised if you just go into some government offices and you'll find there's a policy
Believe
like
me,
that.
there is a policy
That says, this you cannot inhabit this place, you cannot.
Eric, we're not guessing.
Here. There must be a policy, right?
These problems have been so frequent, have happened so often, they've been studied, reports have been written, suggestions have been made. And then we've gotten along. We've gotten along with our lives.
With our lives.
Yes.
Now there's a new warning to people in Tana River and Garissa counties. The Seven Forks dams are full.
All right.
Flooding is imminent. And with flooding will come even more problems than the ones we're talking about.
Let's talk about that when we come out of this short break. Take a look at traffic at 7:30. This is a situation with Kenya's biggest conversation. Join the conversation. 0719 012 600 0719 012 600. Do you know what's happening around your area, around the country, where there's heavy rain? Is there flooding? Is there an issue of mudslides and landslides? Are people being displaced by floods? Let us know. 0719 012 600.
Lots of folks complaining today about public service vehicles having charged a higher fare. You must understand that here you have the rain and then enter COVID. So this is what we're looking at today. It's a wet morning in most parts of the city, and one thing that we're asking you to be is careful as you approach many areas. There's not much traffic per se. We're going to see a buildup of it, and I can tell you now, right around Cabanas, because the road is still being worked on. So it'll take you a minute to get out of that. Then past General Motors, you'll be fine. But then coming around about 8 o'clock, you wouldn't have much of an issue there. Not much traffic in other parts of the city today. Getting in and out of the CBD is not a headache at all. Remember, and I can only say this enough times, getting into public, use your masks for yourselves and for others. Spice FMKE is how you can reach us on Twitter. Let's know what you see. If there's any traffic, we'll let you know. Incidents or accidents, we want to let you know so that you can be safe as you approach any areas.
spice up your life.
27 to 8. This is a situation. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. So yesterday, 4 CSs, were they 4 or were they 3? The CS for Interior and Coordination of National Government, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the CS for Energy, Charles Kater, the CS for Environment, Keriako Tobiko, the CS for Devolution and Regional Governments, Eugene Wamalwa, went to visit the Kenya Meteorological Department, and they were now there to assess and discuss what's happening around the country in terms of weather, in terms of the heavy rains and all, and what they're going to do about it. So they are the ones that issued a caution and an alert to the residents of Tana River and Garissa, and telling them this is what we'd like to do. So let's also now try to talk to the Regional Commissioner for Rift Valley, George Natembea. Good morning, Bona Arsi.
Good morning, how are you?
Salama kabisa.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
Karibu.
We know you're quite busy, so we just wanted to get a quick catch-up of what's happening around Elgeyo Marakwet and West Pokot in terms of relief efforts.
Relief efforts are on. We're expecting some food this morning from Nairobi. We got some supplies from the KDF yesterday, plus a few and food items from the Red Cross. We are currently on the ground. We spend the night here. We are continuing with the recovery efforts. We recovered the last body in the evening of a young girl, about 20 kilometers away from the epicenter.
So how many people are you looking at dealing with today in terms of giving relief and giving shelter?
There were 493 families that we spent the better part of yesterday trying to check and authenticate that list. It may come down slightly, but with the continuing rains and people still living in those precarious areas, we may have more problems ahead.
Have you given an order to evacuate the other areas that haven't been affected yet but are still at risk?
Giving an order is okay, but the problem is where to accommodate these people. Because even most of those who are displaced are putting up with the alternatives. We don't want to cause a humanitarian crisis. So we are really trying to see those cases that are extreme. We are going to force them to stop some schools because the schools are not on now. Yeah.
Does it make it kind of worse, Bonam Tambea, with the whole COVID scenario in the country at the moment?
It's terrible. In fact, this COVID thing may get worse in some of these areas because now there is no social distancing. You're getting people from all over the place converging in one place. And I just discovered that in these remote areas, COVID is not even a priority. They don't even know if that is there or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and in terms of healthcare, provision of healthcare support, now that we know that county governments are really, really focusing on COVID-19 and preparation for COVID-19, are they able to redeploy some of their staff and resources to address this?
We have a few people who are assisting us from the county government of Elgeyo Marakwet and West Pokot. Actually, I've got the CECs joining us on the ground last week to do this recovery work.
If I may ask, sir, what measures do you have in place to protect the security forces under your command and under the armed forces in protecting these officers when they're working in these very, very drastic conditions that they're in?
The government has given us some PPEs, especially the face masks and the gloves. But of course, they're not sufficient. Like yesterday, the ones that we're using yesterday are the ones that we're using today. We're expecting some from the Red Cross in the course of the day. Yeah, we are doing what we have.
Let me ask my second question. Does the police service have a disaster management unit?
They have.
Are they well equipped?
It takes a bit of time to deploy. So it's a matter of readiness to be deployed at the shortest time possible. So it takes a bit of time to mobilize, and by that time situations get out of hand.
It seems that a situation that gets out of hand now makes everybody then, I mean, like you said, you've been there all night, you work around the clock. This happened last year. we have another situation like this happening now, in terms of readiness and preparedness, do you see a situation, hopefully in the near future, where we can be ready for such a thing so that we don't have to play catch up the way that it's happening now?
If we invest more in things that matter than and not in politics,
Right.
we'll get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Because even now we're having a similar situation in playing out in Kericho, where we lost 4 people last night in the landslide.
Preparedness, if I may suggest, would probably mean that whenever we have an alert that we are going to have heavy rains, that people are asked to move. Do you know of any such plan where instead of waiting for something to happen before the disaster management team is actually deployed, that they could be deployed much earlier, so that people could be moved much earlier to safer grounds, so that if and when there is a problem of this nature, they're actually already safe?
People are always asked to move, but Kenyans. If you tell them it's going to rain heavily, they say they wait until it rains.
Yeah.
They can't move away. They can't believe that it will rain until it rains. And what happened this time round is that the first rain caused this damage. The first rain itself.
Yeah.
It caused the problem. So there was no time that there will be any warning sign. Just came during the rain season, then it would washed away before. And then the problem, of course, we need to have proper budget for some of these things, and maybe have a standby team that's ready to be deployed as short as time possible, well funded and well kitted. Like up to now, we are still requesting for excavators from the county governments. They have been promising from Jersey. Yesterday they were telling it was 3 kilometers away. Today they're telling me it's 1 kilometer away. I only want to check to see if it has eventually arrived.
Wow.
So we're basically using very rudimental tools, sticks, vidole, and that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Is it not the point where, Bona RC, this is where you should be looking at the other people who are at risk and basically enforcing and telling them, look, move, go to this school. It's easier to move people into a school than to start dealing with looking for bodies and rescuing at that point when the disaster has already struck.
It's not as easy as that, because yesterday I flew that place, and the people who are settled in those areas are many. They're in their thousands.
Wow.
You look at the way they are, it's not just scary. So we have to pick out the few cases that we think are in grave danger. And we'll move out of those ones. In fact, one MCA is living in a very difficult area. He doesn't want to move away.
Yeah.
And the local MC himself, he can't even see the danger himself.
And that's the local leader.
Yes, the local MC elected for Embobut. And he's hanging on some cliff there, calling it a home.
Wow.
One shouldn't be laughing, but there's a comical side to this.
Yeah.
Bona Natembeya, you're saying that you're waiting for relief to come from Nairobi this morning.
Yes, to arrive. Actually, they left the other day in the evening. The roads here, they're good roads, but the corners, sharp corners, so the lorry moves very slowly.
Right.
But they'll be arriving this morning.
And do you think that will be sufficient to cater for those that are in need right now? And how long do you expect those supplies?
No. It's a drop in the ocean. But we believe we'll be getting provisions constantly. I'm sure by tomorrow we'll have another consignment on the road coming.
Right. So now we're looking at...
We're going to have problems.
We're looking at relief efforts, hoping that more will come later. The thing is that the rain will stop at some point. The floods will subside. People will move back to their homes, as is the practice normally. What would you advise in this case? Because if rains are going to go up until June, as they've told us, it'll subside for some time, they will come back. What should happen in terms of making sure that we are not in this catch-up relief over and over again for the future times? Because it's going to happen again.
Long term is to have people move from that establishment. It's still a community land. Some of them actually settled into in Embobot forest.
Yeah.
Some of them were paid money to move. They did not move. So the government will have to bite the bullet and get these people out of that place. Otherwise, next year we'll still be having this impact. Yeah.
Bona George Natembeya, thank you very much for speaking to us. And we wish you all the best. We'll keep getting in touch with you to get the latest from you.
Thank you very much, sir.
I like him because he just says the way it is.
If we're not playing politics, perhaps we would have done some of these things that are necessary to have been done.
If you were in his position, and you are dealing, this is something he deals on a daily basis.
Yes.
Do you really have time to play games?
And the vast region that he covers.
The valley is
Rift
massive.
Valley is massive. I mean, it's a country.
Yes. Do you really have time to be playing
don't
politics?
have.
You don't have that time. You focus on what needs to be done and you get it done.
And
As
they
simple
ask
as
you, you
that.
say it. It's like this. This is what it is.
happening.
The unfortunate bit here is when he's saying, look, we have to look at who is at critical danger. And those are the ones that we can deal with. If we say we need to evacuate everybody,
They can't.
Where are they going to go? And then
But
if
you
you want
see,
to...
even those that are in critical danger right now, it's just by your own estimation. It may not be that those are the ones that get affected by the floods. These ones that were affected, this particular village, like he's saying, it was just the first rain, it came, no signs, landslide. No warning signs at all to tell the people, oh, come on, have you seen, it has started cracking, you need to start moving before this thing cracks.
And unfortunately, they're now in this area dealing with a plethora of issues, because if you want to add COVID to all of this, what did he say? Here we are, people don't even know what you're talking about. And we don't have a choice. We're going to move people and they're going to be crowded in certain areas.
COVID is secondary.
It's secondary. It doesn't really matter here. But you can imagine, he's saying very clearly to us, there's no county that has not been affected by COVID right now.
Yep.
So you can imagine what would happen in a situation where people are crowded as it is and you don't have a choice as to where you're going to put them, and then enter COVID. What would happen in this case?
The saving grace would be that COVID had not reached that village, right? So because now the villages have been cut off anyway, so people who would travel and
Are not going there.
COVID would not bring COVID here. However, you're seeing the relief agencies are going, the security agencies are going, security officers are going, so there's still a high risk of COVID finding its way.
The existence of relief agencies sort of like gave the government the break they needed. Because every time you have floods, where's the Red Cross?
Yes.
Every time where's the UN? So you then begin to wonder, okay, apart from probably the government security machinery,
What is the government's role?
In all of this, what should you be doing?
Yeah, because these fellows who are involved in relief efforts, this is what they do, and they're good at it. They know what to do.
And they mobilize.
Actually, by the way,
fast.
you need to visit these areas to understand. When you talk about sharp corners, they're hairpin bends. It's a bend that looks like a tight U. So, and if it rains, by the way, you have the road, then you have this hill on your left here or on your right. So you can imagine if there's a landslide, forget even mudslide, the roads could be blocked.
There's no road.
Or the roads could be destroyed. There's a lot that could happen. And then there are people who've actually built on the escarpment itself.
Like that MCA for Embobut.
Yes.
And he's being told, look,
Chief,
you're living dangerously.
Your house is hanging
Like,
on a cliff.
wacheni maneno yenu.
So,
That-
wamewacha maneno yao.
Watu yakieleweke.
Yes.
Or tanga.
Tanga. Okay, now, fine. They will do precisely that. The United
let's take a
Nations.
short break
okay,
and then we
then
come
we can
back.
get back to the United Nations.
Yeah, come back into the UN. It's 7:45. Good morning.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
You know, the UN has a body. It's called the UN Office of Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs.
Ocha.
Unocha.
That one. Ocha. Now, they are supposed to do the same sort of thing that the National Disaster Operations Center in this country does. And apart from just ensuring that they coordinate humanitarian efforts to help people in dire straits, they also collect data. Last year, November 23rd to be precise, they issued a report. And in the report, they said that if you looked over time, 31 out of the 47 counties in this country had experienced some form of problems with landslides or mudslides. 31 out of 47.
Hey.
So they were telling you that this disaster that we're speaking of is something that actually should be in every county. There should be people who understand these things, and it's a county. But remember the blame game and the shifting blame and the land word sliding game. Hiyo ni ya serikali. And yet we have a county government whose primary and only mandate is to look after the people in that county. The government has the entire country. Different kettle of fish. But, again, we see this at play. Somehow they don't think this is their issue. Somehow they don't consider this to be their problem.
They pass it up.
Yes, they pass
They
it
said
up.
the national government should bring food, the national government should bring relief, the national government should be...
So what should they do?
So what should you
And
be
they
doing
were
in the
elected
county?
by the people,
people.
to actually ensure that they
In
look after
terms,
their
in
livelihoods.
terms of the
They'll
most
tell you we don't have
minute
enough
of
money.
or in terms of the most minute kind of representation, it is you at that point for the people. It's you. Actually, the face of the people at that point is you. It can't be that in one place where you say we represent the people, where you want to, for example, impeach a governor, suddenly your voice is loud and clear. But other times when the people should be represented and their needs and livelihoods then being taken care of, you say we're going to shirk that responsibility and then pass it on to somebody else. It should be across board. The responsibility from A to Z should be seen and heard.
You know, the beginning of last week, you heard me mention that I feel there's need for divine intervention. And I wasn't saying this lightly. Because I've been thinking to myself, what on earth do you do to get people who are in authority to understand what they're actually supposed to do? That they're not put there to be telling us nonsensical things from time to time and showing us how powerful they are and then playing their mind games. Fine. If you feel that that's what you need to do from time to time to make yourself feel good, great, wonderful, okay. But this mandate that is for the citizenry of Kenya.
The main mandate
Yes.
to work for the people.
When do you think you should actually put this into play?
Perhaps.
Yes.
No, they're busy. They're thinking. The conversation that they'll be having now is BBI, if not BBI, is Jubilee. And Jubilee A, Jubilee B. Jubilee, we are splitting Jubilee up. Oh, what are you
Okay,
doing
so the
to
same
it?
argument is
Or
not
about
there.
2022. Oh, that's the best they can do. In terms of thinking that, well, so we've been told that 3 dams are full. And these are huge, humongous dams.
And they're responsible for a lot
Kindaruma.
of...
And they've seen it before. The people of Garissa and people of Tana River have seen these dams fill and spill over before.
And they've seen the disaster that
And
followed.
they've seen the disaster that follows. And now you don't even need to be told by a Met or the national government.
You can
No, you
see
don't.
it.
You can just you can see it's raining.
Yeah.
You know what happens when it rains? In fact, you even have contacts. Iyo dam inakaaje? Karibu ijae.
Or the people report this on a daily basis.
Dam karibu ijae. People,
Imeja,
let's
the silt
move.
has failed certain... you're told, they know.
Yeah, they already know.
You know,
And these
One
are
of the
3 dams you're talking about.
one of
Feeding
the
on
things
one into the
that
next.
the power generating company of this country did, it employs people to remove silt from their dams periodically. Why? Because they know it accumulates.
Yes.
And it accumulates, it's very easy for it to overflow. They know. So it's not that before it gets to the point of being full, there are all sorts of warnings that they've been told.
All
You're
warnings,
to figure 50%, to figure 70%. But in 1 week, we're going to hit
We're going to be
100.
at
They're
this
told.
point.
Now they're being told they're full. If you are flying, let's say, to Lamu from Mombasa, you get a very panoramic view of the Tana River. When it overflows, the one thing that first of all shocks you, you wonder, at the mouth where it enters the Indian Ocean, it's brown. Completely brown. You're wondering. It shocks you if you don't know what it is. Then when you keep moving, you realize that the area around you, there's a lot of brown, which means it's overflowed and you're not seeing land, you're seeing water. That is not a good thing, by the way. No. And these are things that can be avoided.
They can be avoided. And this is what we're saying. We cannot continually be in a state of catch-up. All right, this has happened. Let's see what we can do about it now. Can we feed people? Can we get them to move to a school? When the rain disappears and they come back home and then send it, from
to West Pokot, and then you're told the road has been cut off.
Then what do we do? Okay, we're going to use helicopter. Let's take a couple of people. Let's airdrop this food.
And those cut-offs are real and they're serious, and it's going to take a bit of time before you can repair them.
You cannot repair them.
Mind
and
you,
people need food.
Like we said, by the time June rolls around, the rains would have continued till then. That's the half year done. By the time December comes, there are going to be other rains that will come in. So there needs to be something that will be put in place to say, because for the next 10 years, you know the times that these are going to happen.
Why are we waiting for relief to come from Nairobi?
Something needs to be done. Relief is not the answer.
Why must it come from Nairobi?
Putting families in a school building is not the answer. Setting up makeshift camp tents is not the answer. The answer lies in doing something about it now, so that you don't have to do this whole list of other things. So that the damage that you see can be drastically reduced because you took a step to put measures in place.
The politicians. Somebody, a bureaucrat like this called George Natembea, is saying, look, let's just bite the bullet, move people out of this place. For future, let's ensure that people move. Wait, go and tell that MCA to move. Oh,
Whose house is hanging on a cliff?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the people who
He'll be the one
for him
who
are the ones who are in that place.
He will be the one who tells his people, we cannot move from here. This is our ancestral land. Why does the government want to move us? They should pay us. Some people already had been paid
to move.
People had been paid to move, and they ate the money and stayed there.
And the politicians,
and I'm sure they were encouraged.
Yes, of course.
They were encouraged.
There is a politician somewhere who sat down and said, no, why are you moving? We
Do you see the problem with this?
These people want us to move from this side of Eldoret to go to the Marakwet so that we can be killed.
And those people are more than us.
Yeah.
This is the problem with having people now employ their own opinions and their thoughts and their, what you want to call them, rights and civil liberties. This is the problem. This thing that you're seeing now, when that you know that this is the right thing to do, but you're going to invite people's opinions or people's lack of will to do something instead of laying down the law as it should be. This is what we have decided. But then you invite opinion, you invite civil liberty, you invite human rights, and then this is the problem.
In this very same
destruction, submersion.
In this very same country, we've seen the government take steps to sort these problems out.
Yeah.
Something called settlement schemes. One of the reasons why the government set these things up was with this understanding that people need land. Some were not in areas that were prone to floods like the Kano Plains. Others, you just looked at the area. It was a very comprehensive scheme throughout the country. Comprehensive. That's government working and doing something that they know will benefit the people. You've heard me tell you on many occasions that I come from Moroni. I originally came from the Kano Plains. This flooding.
You said no.
But you wake up in the morning and you have this floating sensation, and it's a sensation because you actually are floating. And you're a child.
And you didn't go swimming.
No, you didn't go swimming. And you're sleeping on a reed mat, something called par. And you move your foot from it and you feel, why is this called sensation? It's because you're stepping in water. And the water has entered the hut you're sleeping in. It was something that was...
It was a common occurrence.
It was very common. So when an opportunity arose for people to move, people moved. Some moved to Lambwe Valley, some moved to Moroni. But people moved. But you're talking about... In those days, people were moving. They were being told, hey, where are you going?
Why are you living on our
You will
land?
get killed. Hiya.
Those people.
Though it's a hostile place, you'll get killed. Now, many decades later, we should have moved. And the government was very specific. You would pay 100 bob if you came from a flood-prone area. Kushikilia hiyo, 100 bob. It wasn't easy to get, but it could be gotten. I didn't have to have it all at once. 100 bob.
100 shillings.
Umeshikilia.
Just to secure yourself like a share.
Umeshikilia. Yeah, I'm telling you, umeshikilia. 2.5 acres was called, yes, that was meant for homestead. It was called homestead. Whatever, 7.5, 2.5, it's called a ratoon. For sugarcane, which was planted for you, harvested. They took what their inputs and gave you the rest. So that area, I'm explaining to you how this thing works. So for the longest time, 100. For the longest time, if you wanted a bigger portion of land, you paid more. But for the longest time, you found people who had just been peasant farmers owning tractors because sugarcane had money, sending their children abroad with that money. abroad to pay fees without money.
Abroad, not Nairobi. Abroad.
No,
outside
abroad
of-
is out of the country.
Overseas.
And not Uganda or Tanzania. Okay, just so that we're clear. It's not Ethiopia or Somalia.
Long
Not
flights.
Not East and Central Africa.
Oversea,
Out.
as we say in
Where
Nigeria. Oversea.
you actually climb a plane, and
climb-
the plane
takes
takes
you
you there.
oversea.
Yes, over the sea, not over the river. Sea.
Oversea.
Yes. So these are examples of the government working.
And it did work.
But not only did they work, those settlement schemes were organized. There was a water system. There was a road network.
So it's possible. That's my angst now.
it is.
It's
Point.
possible for such things to happen.
And that's
it
the point.
happened before. It can happen again. But the people who are now the custodians of making it happen are joking.
Today's proverb.
By trying often, the donkey learns to jump from the tree or descend from the tree.
To descend.
You want to ask yourself, at what point did it learn to climb the tree?
How did it find itself on the tree?
Yes, it
Good
climbed.
morning. It's 8 o'clock.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, still showers in most parts of the city this morning. So just asking you to be careful because the roads are quite slippery. And just like that, accidents on Jogger Road, where we asked you to take it easy before, guys. So it's going to cause a little bit of traffic then heading to the City Stadium roundabout. Hopefully that will be cleared up soon. It's not a major one, though. It's just holding up traffic wherever you see it. Wayaki Way looks very good. No traffic. No traffic getting into the CBD either. Right around Kenyatta Avenue and in the middle of the CBD, a little bit of a hold up there, but that will be cleared up shortly. It's not looking too bad, guys. Spice FM KE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter. Let's know what you see. But everybody seems to be keeping it moving this Tuesday morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications
2.5
expert,
after
Pan-African.
8. This is a Situation Room. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're also live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at Spice FM KE. That's a handle for all of those platforms, as well as www.spicefm.co.ke. From Nairobi to the world, and also within the country, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri, Malindi. Let's bring the conversation back to COVID-19 and what's happening in our in our what are they? Quarantine facilities.
Good, nice,
But the
Eric.
adjectives were, you
Yeah,
described them well.
You were doing it well.
It was in my head.
Throw in pogrom while you're at it.
It's called a Freudian slip, but yes.
So a story emerged on social media yesterday about a story being told by a lady called Sylvia Dida. She says she's been unwell since January. She has high blood pressure, high heart pulse, and that has led to facial palsy and other complications that have affected her mobility. She's not able to walk properly. She's taking BP meds and neurocare for the nerves. On Saturday, her medicines ran out, and her husband Ekodida is a gospel musician in the country. He had to go out to buy the medicine. So on his way back, so he had to go out from where they live to go and look for the medicine. He went to the first and second chemist he did not find. He had to go all the way to the CBD. That's where he found the proper medication. On his way back, he got a flat tire. He was changing it. He got caught up in the curfew hours, and he was arrested and taken to Kilimani police station. Since then, a lot has happened, but he's joining us on the line because I'd like him to tell us their story of what happened to him. Ekodida, good morning.
Yeah, morning, sir.
Thank you very much for speaking to us.
You're always welcome. Karibu, karibu.
So let's start off by, where are you now as we speak?
KMTC at Mbagathi Way, along Mbagathi Way.
You're at KMTC along Mbagathi.
Yeah,
This is a quarantine facility,
yeah,
and you're there because you flouted the curfew.
yeah.
What happened?
The story is as legit as you saw it kwa social media about my wife saying what happened. Yeah, so it's real. Nilichelewa and then nikashikwa, gari kakwa towed, regardless of whether niko najaribu kuexplain na polisi the situation. Wako wanataka hata kusikiza. Hata fact that nilikuwa naambia basi if you're towing the car, because I'm a law abiding citizen, tuendanishe basi, si lazima mtoe gari. But like zima yo gari, one of the guys, I think it looks like inaka kama biashara, because the towing guys wako ready kuzitoa tu, and all the cars had to wait there, so that gari kipelekana ya towing, the other one has to come for you guys, so you guys have to wait. It's like mtangoja tu mkue towed. If at all walikuwa naangalia situation ya the country at the moment, guys are not that liquid because of the economy. Unajua breakdown sahi. I think ungekuwa naangalia from angle ya mwananchi, since tutakupatia bail ama fine, tunafaa ku reduce expenses like towing. You can just drive your car to the police station.
But the issue,
and pia kuangalia from kujaribu ku control the COVID situation at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't understand why one of the guys kutoka kwa hiyo Land Rovers the towing,
So
will come and drive
you-
the car.
you
They come in, drive your car,
and you are put in a Land Rover.
No, you're not put in a Land Rover. They have Land Rovers for the kutow, the towing cars.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the drivers from the towing cars comes and takes your seat and aendesha gari yako as you sit next to him. So if yeye amemishandle huko nje, utapata hata kupatia COVID, yeye mwenyewe atakuletea COVID hapa ndani. Unajua?
So Ekodida, let's move on from the point of towing up to the point where you got to the police station. How did you end up in quarantine? What happened at the police station?
Actually first tulipaka ndani tukakaa for hours. Ilikuwa around saa moja na dakika I think 5 hivi 10 hivi. But nilikuingia ndani tulikuwa I think kitu by 15 hivi. 7:15 nilikaa mpaka saa 3:30 before being sorted, before waambie kitu yote uko kwa gari yako huko. And then they came to our car keys, tukaambiwa ni time ya kuingia ndani. Tukaingizwa kwa cell. Then tukaambiwa nyinyi mtakaa hapa mpaka kesho asubuhi. Morning tukalipishwa cash bail. For towing 5k for kukaa hapo ndani.
So you are paying accommodation fees?
I guess.
So what is the condition for the cash bail? You're supposed to appear in court?
Yeah, you're supposed to appear in court the following day. So we asked for receipts and all that. Wakatupatia, then they said kesho. My wife was persistent, alikuwa anauliza information like sasa what's next. So anasema imeandikwa hapo kesho unafaa ushow up kotini. Meanwhile tukiwa huko ndani, guys were saying there are other guys who were here before you na walishikwa wakafanywa the same, but when they were taken to court, court ilisema hakuna, hauwezi ambia mtu juu alichelewa afungwe. It's not in Kenyan laws. So walikuwa na dismissed, wanaambiwa waende nyumbani. So I think probably this situation ili change things, ndio ikakuwa sasa we will have to be utatoka ndani upelekwe kotini, unatoka ndani upelekwe quarantine, unaona. So now it's a forced quarantine. It's like lazima mfungwe tu either way. So in the process of forced quarantine, now you come here, you have to pay for after that we were taken to KMTC. Sasa hii place tuko sasa.
So this is on Sunday. You were arrested on Saturday. You spent the night at the Kilimani police station.
Yeah.
On Sunday morning, your wife comes and she's told to secure your release. She needs to pay 5,000 shillings towing fee and 5,000 shillings cash bail.
Yeah.
And this was paid.
Yeah, it was.
Were you let to go home at that point?
I was let to go home. And kufika home, nikapigiwa simu. One of the guys inside alikuwa ametumia simu yangu. I think that guy alikuwa amepigwa mob justice. So he used my phone to call wife yake kumwambia situation where he is exactly and all that. So mimi nikiwa home, someone called me and said she's the lady who was called through my phone. So she was saying that her husband has died. So is that true? Is that true? And I told her mimi nishakuwa released, so I don't know. I'm not quite sure kama amekufa ama. And I didn't understand how.
Okay.
Unaona, so venye nilipigiwa pia na mapolisi more and more kuhusu hiyo situation, I went back to find out also as a caring citizen.
So other police officers also called you to tell you that a fellow inmate had passed away.
No, they kept on calling me concerning different issues. Huwa nakwambia kuja sijui tujamalizana huku, different issues, not just one issue.
Na wanasema wao ni polisi.
Yeah. They even gave me numbers to call.
Okay.
If nikifika. Then nikaingia, nikapiga hiyo simu wenyewe it's a cop. Who took it. Who picked it. Alafu akaniambia, okay, tulikuwa nataka uende huku, umalizane na wale pale. Kuingia where I was supposed kumalizana na watu, nikaingizwa ndani ya jela. It's not back to the cell again. And then I asked them, why am I even here? Why are we not talking about what brought me here? And then they told me that things zimechange kutoka from above. Vitu zimebadilika, we have to tutaenda na mtaratara, tutapelekwa na program.
Which day is this? Is this Sunday or Monday?
This is Tuesday sasa.
Am I to understand that you then, okay, so you were released and then you went home?
Yeah.
So when did you then go to KMTC?
Same day after coming back and taken in.
So on Sunday, you received several calls from police officers asking you, requesting you to come back ndio mumalizane.
Come back. Yeah.
And being a responsible citizen, ukaona wacha nirudi kwa police station.
I went back because I had nothing to hide. Ni nini naficha? Na pia naangalia situation. If it happens that guy died indeed, ningetaka kujua what happened, because me as far as I'm concerned, labda ni fani yangu. Ama inaweza kuwa ni ndugu yangu kesho atafanyikiwa mahali hivyo. Aingie jela na alikuwa tu sawa. Alafu few minutes later ati amekufa. You get it?
Yeah.
So I wanted also to find out about that.
Okay.
And then now from that point
kuingia nikapata that guy is not even dead. He's okay. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Although alikuwa anaumwa, but he was okay. Even the guys there were laughing. Wanashindwa, yaani umerudi huku ndani kuconfirm jamaa kama kwa aina.
You know what I find wonderful about what we're hearing from you is that you still, amidst all this, you have a sense of humor. This is really very good.
I stay positive all day.
So Sunday afternoon you're taken to KMTC.
We're taken, tukaingizwa kwa gari. Actually the way the things are being done there, one thing I wanted to highlight about is, so far hakuna kutestiwa, tulitestiwa. Hakuna mtu ametestiwa na tuliekanishwa tu pamoja. Wewe umetolewa kwa gari yako, mwingine ameshikwa juu yako na face mask huko nje, mwingine ameshikwa juu alikuwa anatembea na for different reasons. We were brought together na tukaekwa pamoja pale kwa cell. Sasa wale watu wako ndani ya cell, wengi wao probably hata tujui condition yao, whether they are positive or negative of corona. But tumewekwa pamoja. Wao pia hawajui hali yetu, but tuko hapo pamoja. If it's really trying to contain the situation, I think probably they should have tested us. Ama for wajue at least guys who are positive waekwe pamoja, guys who are negative waekwe pamoja, at least to contain the situation. But that never happened up to date. Na hiyo tunaambiwa hata kuingia huku, we were escorted to this place. Kuingia, the first thing we were told ni tujue tutaka hapa, sisi ni wabusu literally. Tutaka hapa mpaka 14 days. and the 14th day ndio tutapimwa.
On the
when you're
14th
leaving,
day.
essentially.
On the 14th day, yeah.
So who was telling you this?
Tutapimwa, and we are over 200 guys here.
Who's telling you that?
Kuna the guys who are in charge of that. Kuna watu ni kama supervisors.
So the supervisor at KMTC told you that you're here for 14 days.
Yeah.
And the first test you're going to receive for COVID-19 will be on the 14th day.
On 14th day ndio mtapimwa.
Alafu results mmembo mtapewa lini?
And then results from if they find out that same day probably, we weren't told when, but I guess it will be the same day. So what they said is if results turn out to be watu ni negative on a virus, but two out of us, all of us, if wawili watakuwa positive, they will go back and check whether we were mingling. If they wanasema tuko na CCTV huko, I haven't seen any though, but wanasema if they will in short to under their masses, if they assume tulikuwa tuna mingle, watasema you guys mtaongezewa siku hapa ndani. So they told us you'd rather behave because there are guys who came here before you and they're on the other side. Tukaonyeshwa wako kwa much worse place.
What
is much worse?
I don't know what it meant kwa sababu walisema pale ni pabaya zaidi. So I don't know what that meant.
Maybe you can paint a picture of where you are. What are the conditions where you are?
Okay, let me just finish up with this first before that. So walikuwa nasema we will tutakwa watangaya those 200 guys. Kama 2 guys wamekuwa affected, they'll just look at the characters. If you guys are mingling, if you guys are not following these rules, because we are supposed to stay indoors, the only time unatoka nje ni sasa unaenda kwa shower ama unaenda gents. And tunashare a whole floor, tunashare choo na bafu. And tunashare pia chakula tunatoka nje. So it's like unatoka nje probably 4 times. 3 times for the meals, breakfast, lunch, supper. And as you go for supper na breakfast na lunch, you have to queue. So as we queuing, guys are mad. Unajua watu wamejaa mjuu, they were brought here for different reasons.
So people observing social distance.
Don't want even to observe. They don't even care. So as much as you want to care about the social distance, your neighbors here don't care about it. Wako mad. Unajua kwa annoyed about the situation. Sasa hata washughuliki na hiyo. So we are risky. It's riskier being here than even being at home.
Are you in your own room?
Yeah, everyone has his own room. But now the only things we share ni hizo kwenda kwa line kuchukua chakula, of which niko nafikiria if it's wiser to control the situation, we should be given food ndani ya room, food per room.
Yeah,
exactly, so that we have fewer moments of going out na kukua na watu.
Have you been provided with the basic amenities, towels and soap?
There's no towels here. The only thing tulipatiwa ni soap, tissue na kitu ya kuweka takataka.
Bas.
And then you're being provided with food and water.
What food are you provided with?
Nimeona chapo ndondo. It's just ni ile chakula tu ya kawaida ya mjengo.
Chapati and beans.
Ya mjengo ama ya shule. Literally ni food ya shule ama mjengo.
What did you have for dinner yesterday?
Ilikuwa chapo maharagwe na cabbage.
And for lunch?
Lunch ilikuwa mchele, maharagwe na cabbage.
Breakfast?
Ilikuwa inakaa ngumu. Sijui nitwangaje hiyo kitu, inakaa ngumu.
KDF.
Keki kana KDF. KDF moja, sausage moja na chai na mayai moja. So yeah. So and apparently we are supposed to pay for our stay here every day.
How much
are you charged per day?
Let me tell you, like 80% of guys here ni watu wa kutoka mamtaa. Na ni watu wa kawaida, ni wananchi wa kawaida. And we're supposed to be charged 2,000 bob per day. Which guys walikuwa wamekasirika because to be honest, for 14 days that means 28,000.
Yeah.
With the current situation, it's impossible for mtu wa mtaa kusema tu kweli, it's insane kumwambia sasa ati atatoa 28,000 si ya rent yake ya kwake. Na hata ishi kwa rental ya pesa hiyo type, umwambie anatoa 28,000 juu kukaa kwa rooms kama hizi.
Ya kulipa KMTC.
You get it? Na pesa ya chakula, hii chakula ukiangalia ni ya 300 bob per day. To be honest.
So let me
Ukisema
ask you.
breakfast, lunch, supper. And the worst part of it ni usipotoa hiyo pesa, the day you're tested, hiyo siku ya mwisho, you'll have to utabaki hapa mpaka familia yako ama whatever guys wapate hiyo pesa. And guys were saying basi tutaishi huku because we don't see how we'll get the money. And if kama tutaishi huku, that means congestion.
Yeah.
Kwa sababu more guys are coming every day. By the way, every day more guys are coming in.
So Ekodida, you're there. You're saying you're there with another almost about 200 people.
Yeah.
Have you had any kind of meeting or briefing from a health official? Somebody who comes and introduces themselves. I'm from the Ministry of Health, or I'm from the county public health official, and this is what you're expected to do. This is how you're expected to live. This is what is expected of you.
Yeah, we had one person. I don't know whether ni doctor, I don't know, but we had one person on the day tuliingia to keep at hizo guidelines. Yeah, there was one person who was there and talked about that.
Are the guidelines in something written, or is it just something communicated to you
It's
verbally?
verbal.
It's verbal.
Yeah, wewe ni huu kram. Cheze kama wewe.
And what were the guidelines?
Guidelines ni no interactions for whatever reasons. If you need anything brought to you, same clothes from outside, ziletwe kwa gate. Kuna mtu atachukua uletewe. And venye tutaka hapa ndani hakuna kutoka kwa room. And utaka 14 days mandatory. Alafu wataangalia kama karakta yako umekuwa ukimingo sana, probably utarudia by default. Utarudia those 14 days by default.
So kuna prefect anaandika majina?
Hakuna prefect. It's just hiyo ni guideline.
Okay.
Just part of the guideline. And then to be honest, acha niseme, I had to highlight about this, yeah. I don't see how that 2000, as much as inakaa pesa ndogo, I don't see how it's even it's justifiable. Looking at the room venye nakaa, it's a hostel, and then this is like this is a school, public school. It's not a private school, so I don't see whether sioni venye government inaweza sema inakuwa charged. Unaona, it's free. It should be free. So if the government really cares about these guys wenye walishika ama wamewaleta hapa ndani for quarantine purposes, I think it should be free, or probably as cheap as 100 bob. And since the government is not distributing food out there, wanafaa kuwa basi these places that wame kind of special, then they should bring the foods here. So that it's bearable for the guys here. At the moment, kama waezi survive na 2,000 bob at home, sa zile economy iko sawa, imagine wanatoa wapi yo 2,000 bob when the economy is this hit. It doesn't make sense at all for me. And based on the situation that hata hoteli za mtaani, ukienda kwa tuseme labda ulale lodging ama those other places ni hoteli, it has to have its own uko na shower yako, uko na choo yako ndani ya room. This one here we have to go share, so it's extremely cheap. Ni kama ni shule, ni secondary fulani.
Ni shule actually.
So I don't exactly, it's a school.
You're in school.
Yeah.
Do they do any temperature screening?
Aina finishing, aina zile well furnished. It's just a room you're in. Na blanketi, bed sheet. Na mattress. And a table.
Do you see somebody every day? Okay, since you've been there, because now this is day 2, right? In terms of screening, taking of your vitals and things like that, are they visiting you daily?
In terms of what?
Taking your vitals, your temperature, screening, all of this.
Nah.
Oh, it hasn't happened? Okay.
Have you heard of people who perhaps have undergone this sort of thing where temperature has been taken or vitals have been taken at all?
No, we were just told if you see your neighbor coughing, alert the authorities.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you're telling us
your neighbor vitu si za kawaida na kohoa and stuff like that.
Uambie
report. Yeah.
You are saying that the people who are there are frustrated, they are not observing the rules.
Yeah, guys are really mad. Yeah.
To the best of your knowledge, are there people who are visiting one another in their rooms?
Okay, I haven't been out there that much. I'm really trying to stay indoors, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even going for food, I'm going for food. So I'm trying to really observe the rules. Because I don't want to repeat staying here for whatever reason. And I don't want to end up testing positive because the situation here is most likely you might test positive at the end of the day. Ni kama hii situation ya kuongeza statistics.
But then now that you are trying as much as possible to observe the rules, and you're saying that you, to the best of your knowledge, you haven't seen any CCTV cameras that are monitoring and showing that, okay, Ekodida is behaving, whereas other people are not behaving.
Yeah.
You see, now it brings in the issue of the likelihood of you also being lumped up if there's any report that's given that the people who've been brought here have misbehaved.
Yeah.
You'd also be in the same mix.
Yeah, that's exactly what it means. They said it's a situation where kuwa mchopi shauri yako, if the whole school is messing around, the mean grade inakuja D hata ukipiga A. Sasa kufia team.
That's a good analogy.
It's that serious, yani.
Hebu niulize, when they take, okay, how many tests have you undergone since you got there?
Tests?
Yes.
No test.
No test.
Yeah, no test.
The people you're with, have any of them undergone any testing?
There's no testing here.
Unakaa tu.
Nitungoje after 14 days. That's what we were told.
So if they haven't tested you, it means they don't know your status.
I'm telling you, reason why guys are so mad about the whole situation. We thought if they are really here to control the situation, they would have tested us at our gate basi tukiingia. They say these guys are negative and these guys are positive. So guys who are negative wako kwa hostels zai floor and this floor and this floor this side. And the guys who are positive or negative wako hii side ingine. And then guys who are positive at the end of the 14 days tukiona probably kuna wale wame improve health yao imekuwa sawa, we will see whether to release them or not. And then the guys who are negative, if probably they were negative before they came in, but somehow labda ikuwa symptoms hazikuwa zimeonyesha, you get it, but sasa wako positive, we'll see how to deal with that. And the guys who remain negative in them, we see how to go about that. No, but the situation is not that. That's not the case. That's why people are mad. People are feeling like we are brought here to get contaminated. we are here to get you ugonjwa. We are here to be.
You've gone there to collect it.
So are you saying that quarantine is a punishment, Echo?
It's actually a punishment. Those guys made it clear to us. They said hii ni fimbo serikali inawachapa kwa sababu ya kukosa inaitwa kukiuka.
Sababu kukiuka sheria.
Kukosa kukiuka sheria. So we're actually being punished. They said that. And we are actually the way we are being treated even, it's like we are not, hakuna respect and love. We're being treated like you guys are patients already or something, or you're nini maabusu, you're criminals.
Just to go back to the beginning,
like there's no asking question, there's no conversation. Always ulizata mtu directives, muulize, okay, yeah.
To take the conversation back to the very beginning, Ekodida, you were arrested on Saturday. You had gone to get medication for your wife who was feeling unwell. What time were you at that roadblock?
Ilikuwa around 7:10, 7:05 hapo.
So around 7:05, you found the roadblock is already in place.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to prove that you had gone to a
Yeah.
Medicine and receipts.
But sasa huwezi ongea na wao. These guys you couldn't speak. Like hata it's ni kama we are happy you're here. Na time imefika.
Asante sana kwa kuja.
Umejileta.
Asante kwa kufika. Asante kwa kukuja the right time. We are waiting for guys like you.
Right.
Na ni simple as sasa tukutoka hapa tunaenda hivi. Whatever you're saying, keep it to yourself. Na hata asubuhi, whatever you're saying, keep it to yourself. Whatever the reasons were ya kukua huko ndani, keep it to yourself. Yeah, so point ni mkishashikwa nyi jueni mtaletwa quarantine. That's the whole thing. And that's I'm thinking, according to the situation may change right now, ni ukishikwa for whatever reasons out there right now, most likely utakuja ndani. Utakuja quarantine. Quarantine. Yeah.
How's your wife now? I'm sure you are in touch with her.
I talked to her, ako sawa. Yeah, ako sawa.
So
Slow but sure.
She's much improved.
Yeah, she's much improved because I'm trying as much as possible asikuwe na hiyo pressure. Because she's feeling and I feel she's the reason why I'm here. No.
Yeah.
She called me, alikuwa anasema if you didn't ungekuwa umeenda for my medicine ungekuwa hapo. And the reason why mimi nilienda medicine ni hiyo pressure. So kuiongeza saa hii na situation, it's even risky for her. Na alikuwa amefika state she couldn't even talk. Initially for 4 months she's been through hell. She couldn't talk, she couldn't move, she couldn't even blink her eyes.
Yeah.
So tulikuwa tunaambiwa we couldn't go for physio, tukipelekwa physio at least tujaribu kurudisha muscles na vessels zake zi function normal. Heartbeat ilikuwa ina rise. Heartbeat yake already iko on 50 and something. So haizi pelekwa physio. So it's prayers. Acha niseme basically what God amefanya so far, and it's just God and your medicine kidogo. Yeah.
We wish her all the best, and we thank you very much for speaking to us.
And we wish you all the best as well, Echo, in all of this.
Amen. Amen.
If you were to take like 30 seconds to pass on a message to CS Mutahi Kagwe and the Emergency Response Committee, what would you tell them?
I'd tell them, 1, they should test people before they bring them here. And then 2, I'd also tell them to reduce this amount of money guys are paying here. It doesn't make sense at all. If you are to help these guys avoid COVID, wasishikwe na pressure basi hapa, mtu ajirushe kutoka kwa vio, sababu wezi afford the amount at the end of the day. And then the other thing I'd say, if they really care about us, waongee na hao watu who are here to treat us like human beings, to treat us like citizens who need care and love, not victims.
Thank you very much. Message is home. Thank you very much, Ekodida.
You're welcome.
We wish you all
Thank
the best.
Thank you very much.
All right.
It's 8:30. This is a situation. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. You've heard from the man himself. He's in quarantine. He was caught outside after 7 o'clock. That's a curfew time. His explanation notwithstanding, he's now been taken into quarantine and he's been told, you'll be here for 14 days and we will test you on the 14th day. That is what he says that he's been told. Let's take a look at the weather and traffic and then come back to the conversation. Good morning.
Showers in Nairobi. This is what we see now. It's likely to be this way throughout the day at 17 degrees, highs of 24 and lows of 15. In Nyeri at 17 degrees, it's cloudy through the day today. Showers expected in the early afternoon, highs of 22 and lows of 15. Cloudy conditions in Nakuru at 17 degrees, 23 the high and lows of 14 with an afternoon of showers. In Eldoret, it's mostly cloudy at 16 degrees, highs of 21 and lows of 13 with showers in the early afternoon. 18 degrees in Kisumu and mostly cloudy conditions, highs of 26 and lows of 19 through the day today. It's cloudy conditions in Malindi at 28 degrees, likely to be partly cloudy through the day with highs of 31 and lows of 26. Mombasa is mostly cloudy this morning at 27 degrees, cloudy conditions to follow in the afternoon with highs of 30 and lows of 26. Taking a look then into Kampala, it's mostly cloudy at 20 degrees. Showers expected very early today, highs of 24 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam is mostly cloudy this morning at 27 degrees. Showers expected to cool things down, experiencing highs of 32 and lows of 24. Taking a look then into Joburg, it is clear skies this morning at 13 degrees, mostly sunny conditions for most of the day. Highs of 24 and a chilly low of 8. Finally, in West Africa, in Lagos, clear skies at 27 degrees. Showers, though, expected in the afternoon with highs of 34 and lows of 26. All right. Slight accident on Mombasa Road this morning. It's holding up traffic right around the SGR, unfortunately. Be cleared up in a short while, but understanding that it's still raining, guys. So it rains, you move a little bit slower. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. In this case, not so much. It'll be cleared up in a short while, though, and you should be able to move a little better. All right. Looking at other parts of the city, it's looking good, guys. Not much, but the showers are still ravaging most parts of the city today. Taking a look then into Mombasa town, it's not so bad today. Entering on through into Moi Avenue at Tusks, it's fine. And then in other parts of the city, of the country as well, in Kisumu, Eldoret, right around in Malindi as well, traffic looks good, not much on the roads. Spice FM KE, if there's something that you see that we should know, please let us know, and we'll spread the word.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
City, what do you make
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up.
I have made of it. One, we are creating new epicenters for COVID-19. The police cells, as by its description, are certainly one of those epicenters. We have a situation where we are actually in the process of appearing or trying to resolve an issue. We're exacerbating it. We're making it worse.
Because people are being arrested, rounded up, taken into a police cell, and then from there you're taken to a detention facility. Well,
if you're going to take people to a police cell, it's clear this social distancing is not evidence in that place. Two, if you're going to keep people there overnight, you need to probably also offer testing facilities. So that when it comes to a situation where you want to transfer them to a place, a hospital, they're tested. If not, why I'm saying this is, even when you're putting people in cells, you really need to consider. If you lump everybody in the same cell and some may be positive, some are not, already what you've done is you've increased your chances of actually...
of community transmission.
Exactly. You are exacerbating with every passing day. Then you take them to a holding place called a quarantine, and the same thing happens. You just lump people together. So you actually not... This entire exercise, it negates the very thing you're trying to do. You're trying to ensure that you discourage people from spreading COVID-19.
Yeah.
And the actions that we've heard are now guaranteeing that we're going to spread COVID-19.
And then you'll remove these people and take them back into the community and start telling us, now it's all over the estates. We have cases from this estate, the other estate, and if you ask them, those people...
What do you expect? This is the thing.
You interacted.
Yeah, it's only natural that is what is going to happen. You're bringing people in, mixing them back and forth, and then you're taking them. And we looked at the numbers that it takes one person. It takes one infected person to be able to spread in the thousands in less than 24 hours. That's all it takes.
But what should the police officers do? They are manning a roadblock, and they're trying to enforce a curfew. People are out beyond the curfew hours. What should the police officers do?
This is the kind of catch-22 to the situation that you find yourself in, because what you're trying to do is avoid mass infections, and at the same time, a curfew has been put in place, and we're saying not 7:10, unfortunately, not 7:30.
Yes,
For whatever reason that you're out on you should not be there past 7 o'clock. So then it's a difficult one to have to be able to pick through, to say, okay, so then what do we do? Where do we take all of these individuals who have, because there's got to be some kind of measure put in place to say you were out by past 7 o'clock. What are we going to do to have it stick in your mind that you shouldn't be? At the same time, we don't want to herd you all in one place to avoid infection. So, I mean, it's something that I don't know if anybody has the answer to right now. What do you do in this case? There's nowhere else you're going to take them. There's what other, or do you say on that spot you will be fined? Maybe a fine needs to come into place. Maybe there needs to be screening at roadblocks and saying, okay, well, these individuals who are passing through this roadblock, do we need to be screening them at the roadblock as well? Do we find them on the spot and say, okay, well, here you've been fined and then you may go home, so that we now mitigate having herds of people in one place? Maybe that's an option to be looked at, on the spot fining. And if you don't want to be fined at a roadblock, for example, then don't be out past 7 o'clock. But there must be another way to avoid mass numbers of people in one place at one time.
There should also be a way in which police officers are able to, gauge each reason on its merit. If somebody is coming and saying, well, the reason why chemists and pharmacies have been declared
As essential services,
is so that you can access them at night. And they're also open 24 hours. You can access it. So if you wanted to leave your house because you need to get medication and go to a pharmacy,
that should be adequate reason.
That should be adequate reason.
To be
but
out
then
beyond the curfew.
how do you communicate this with the police officer whose order has been anybody who's outside, weka kwa Land Rover, peleka kwa station?
This is another thing, because I think at that point there's no discourse. There's no reason. This is why I'm out. It almost seems as if police at roadblocks are not listening to the reason why anybody should be out. And then again, you have to ask, should they?
It would be too time consuming.
Time consuming to listen to everybody's reason as to why they're out. This is why I'm saying there should be on-the-spot measures to deal with it. The same way in which they're not listening to the reasons one by one is the same way, all right, all of y'all here, 7 o'clock, you should not be. Let's have an on-the-spot fine so that you won't be again. And maybe there should be screening at that point as well. Because the same thing we said we're trying to avoid, we're putting ourselves back into that situation again, where you're bringing everybody into the cell, you leave them there for 24 hours, then the next day you tell them go home, and then bring yourself back to the quarantine. What are we doing?
But what it also points out to, our police service were not prepared for this.
No.
And nothing has been done to even prepare them, because they're doing things in the way that they can.
Yeah.
And nothing has even been done to catch up.
Yes,
No.
it's not as though they have space and they're not taking people that space. What they have is what they're using.
For everything.
And I've been waiting to hear that somebody was arrested at 6:30. No?
Nope.
It's all after 7.
It's
After
after
7.
7.
And curfew begins at 7. So 1 minute after 7, you've broken curfew.
Yeah.
It may sound harsh, but that's the reality.
It's
And
the
it's the
reality.
reality.
Because it was 7 o'clock, right? This is what I'm saying. At the end of the day, for whatever reason, you were still out after 7 o'clock.
Now, again, this
Okay?
is where the thinking
It's
should
difficult.
change.
So, yes, exactly.
You know, when you talk about changing the way you do things, if we have people who are bringing food to you even after curfew hours, because food is considered essential.
Yep.
I am sure this is Kenya. There are people who can bring you medication even after 7. I am sure. I don't know if there are any, but I'm sure, because if it's opportunity, the one thing Kenyans do very, very well is to look for opportunity. There will be people. You call a hospital and say, I have this situation here.
Hospitals have already actually devised that home delivery of medication.
Pharmacies already have
right?
that. You have
Some
that.
pharmacies already have that. But also at the same time, you still have people who don't have this the information.
So
And it's
here
an
we are
emergency.
giving them that information. Please change the way you think and the way you do things. You do not have to do it yourself. It's like with meetings. You don't have to see someone face to face. We've long established you don't have to shake their hands to greet them. You can wave. It's an acceptable greeting and just as warm. You can smile, and you can see a smile even 1 mile away. So this social distancing is a reality. When it comes to the things that you do, even what you call normal shopping, believe me, there are people who you can send a list to, will shop for you, and will bring
deliver.
it. We long established that gas is brought to your homes.
Yes.
We've moved. It's not just gas. It's foodstuffs that you eat on a daily basis. So
It's also brought.
change the way you think. This isn't one of those normal situations where it is, well, it's only 5 minutes past.
No.
5 seconds past 7 o'clock. My friend, you're in trouble.
Justice in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning. How have you been?
We're fine.
Very well,
Fine,
thank you.
City
Hi.
and Oko.
Yes.
Ndu is fine.
How are you doing?
We are well, thank you.
The two conversations you are having are in a way connected. Because the other one was about disaster, where we are looking at issues, things happening as episodes rather than connected situations. For example, if you look at the way we manage disasters, be they drought, we seem to be responding to each of them as it comes. Yet there is something I was hoping you could have raised. There is an authority called National Disaster Management Authority, a full parastatal. Where is it? It's a whole established institution called the National Disaster Management Authority, but you never hear about it.
Actually,
So where is it?
What we have is the National Disaster Management Agency, which is a multi.
Agency. Yes.
There was a bid. There was a bid, which is, I think, still lagging somewhere in Parliament. That was supposed to convert this into an authority. With a bill.
With a bill. But before that, there was some remnants of an authority-like thing in the office of the president.
Yes.
Because if you go to the north, even when you look at these social protection mechanisms, they are very active. NDMA is very active in those things. So where is it? Meaning they should have even prepared a strategy. We have a standby response mechanism, which you could be asking, is it functioning or not functioning, rather than looking at events. The other thing, linking to the next issue, the one about management of these COVID epicenters in the making, is the fact that we thrust our police force into the COVID management without reminding them that this was a public health curfew, not a criminal curfew or a defense or security curfew. They are curfews nonetheless.
Yeah.
But the nuance about them is how you approach one should be different from how you approach the other. For example, a military curfew, you don't raise your hand. When you see the military, you raise your hands up. You make sure you are showing them how naked you are and you have nothing to hide. But in a public health curfew, it's a two-way thing. Communication is very important. For a case like this guy, Dida, they call what lawyers call the circumstances. Those circumstances which explain why you are those circumstances. In other words, they should be having a conversation where you're coming. You can imagine if you had a pregnant wife in that car, and then you apply the military approach. You're after time, get out. That could have been another disaster in the making.
True.
It also forces citizens not to take it seriously and see it like njia ya kutunyanyaza. And especially among young people, if you don't communicate well and they take that route, then it becomes instant resistance. So it's no longer about following it by they're saying tutafanya na utadu, si utatuchapa tu. You'll still beat it. If it gets to that situation, then we'll be in trouble. That we'll have resistance. You can have the police everywhere, but this was a curfew meant to instill certain behaviors, and it was supposed to be emphasizing on communication rather than this brute control and unreasonableness. And then lastly, remember some time back, you had an expert and we asked, do you have SOPs for managing these places? And the lady, I think it was Dr. Mwangangi, or who else? She emphatically said, I'm under the minister from Makueni. I think there's an expert. And he emphatically said, I think it was the minister. He said emphatically, yes, we have SOPs, standards operating procedures to manage these places. But from the series of descriptions we have been having and testimonies, it's like they don't exist.
Just I can confirm that there are guidelines. If you actually go to the Ministry of Health website, you will find the quarantine guidelines. They are there. They've been presented. They've been produced. They've been published. But are they being followed? They are not being followed.
But a city could tell you, guidelines in public health, the written guidelines are useless. It's the lived guidelines that are important. They're useless. You can hang them on the wall. How many offices do you have sexual harassment, but they have a big billboard saying sexual harassment is prohibited in this office?
It's a corruption.
You get that kind of thing. It's a corruption-free zone, a very big placards, and yet deals are going on. So for a public health perspective, you don't even need, the written ones are fine. They are checking the list, but we need them lived. For example, I could expect if you walk to KMTC, at their gate, there is somebody who reads to you actually those guidelines and follows them, so that you get that culture of following those specific guidelines.
Actually reads them and even gives you a copy and says these are the guidelines.
This is one for yourself.
And even demonstrates, like Eric, when you take a plane a flight from wherever, those, it's not because you can't read those instructions they put on behind the seat, but they make effort to demonstrate to you that in the event of this, this is what you do.
Yeah.
Even if you're a frequent
Flyer.
flyer.
They leave
The
nothing to
same
chance.
approach, they don't leave anything. And COVID is not something we should do as a routine. Do you have a fire escape? Yes, there is. And then there is a makai imefunika huko. It's those, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
we so we
Just as
need these things. Yeah,
Your
We need
descriptions
these
this
things.
morning are right
fantastic.
on point.
No, this thing has touched just as he.
Because it's important, because if you don't see that public health arm where you and I as shareholders in the risk, we don't communicate it that much. We make it
True.
a routine thing,
True.
a healthy routine thing. We are going to plunge everybody into disaster.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you,
Justus.
thank you. Okay.
Asante sana.
No problem.
Say hello to the people in Mombasa. At 10
Okay,
minutes
we are
to
okay.
10 minutes to 9, let's take a look at let's just take a short break and then come back. The phone lines are open 0719 012 600. That's 0719 012 600. You can see Mheshimiwa Grace is calling. We'll be speaking to you shortly, Mheshimiwa. Good morning. It's 729. This is a situation room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. The phone lines are open 0719 012 600. Mheshimiwa Grace,
Yes, sir.
good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a minute.
Mheshimiwa, good morning.
How
Where
is
have you been
everyone?
hiding?
I'm hiding. I'm in quarantine isolation for myself.
Self-isolation.
For yourself, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, when you say
Not
quarantine,
other.
you have to say you could be at KMTC.
Yeah, that's why I qualified very fast.
Good.
How are you people been?
We're all
well.
right.
Thank God.
Yes.
I've listened to the story of this guy in KMTC,
Yes.
and I was very saddened because it looks like we have had this thing for some several months now.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, we were all shocked and maybe confused.
Mm-hmm.
But now we should be sobering up and looking at things in a very clear manner.
Yeah.
I want to believe that most arms of government, even if they are not like in the Ministry of Health where they report to us numbers, the rest of them should be working out, trying to see how they come in to ameliorate the situation and bring guidelines the way they should be. Because when that guy explains, you can't just imagine that they are trying to prevent the disease. It's for real that they want to spread it or something.
It sounds like their intention is quite the opposite.
And we have a lot of room in this place. You can take them to all these secondary schools. You can take one person per floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even tell their families to bring them food and they should be kept somewhere it comes to peak. Why should they be crammed in one place?
Right.
And then you pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are so many schools in Nairobi. I mean, like St. George's, go to State House Girls, wherever. You can find a place where everybody can stay in a floor. I don't think these people are very many.
It's not for lack of space, actually. It's not. Even just going back into looking at KMTCs, you have the Utali College, you have the Kenya School of Government, which is no longer now being used for
so many places, even the water school of whatever.
the universities.
There are so many places. Yeah. So I think we need to rethink this idea and try to make sure that we are observing this social distancing in Manila.
Yeah. It sounds to me, Mheshimiwa, like... What? Yes, go ahead.
Another thing is, as much as we are talking the virus, there is a whole economic meltdown issue here. As much as we are receiving Ministry of Health updates, some economic arm of this government should be telling us how to survive.
Yes.
For instance, in the village, I may be having a store full of millet. I am locked in Nairobi. I can't go, nobody can come.
Yeah.
And I have no money. But I have food at home. And there should be a way that food can reach me here.
Yeah.
Parents or grandparents, they want to send something to their children, some bananas, some what. They should be thinking on a way of how to people in the village support the ones in urban center. Yeah. But why is that conversation missing?
Yeah.
It's just like a bunch of rules. No going, no coming.
No coming.
That is it.
The only people who are supposed to bring are those who are taking to the market.
Yeah, but even those who are taking to the market, you are presuming that I have the money. But I'm not working. I'm seated here.
Yeah.
If I have a formula of how to survive, even if it is malondo ile makaushwa na kushakwa ile to, I can survive here. Then there must be a way of how we can reach out.
Very
But
good point.
the economic angle is missing completely. I don't know why.
From this conversation.
Yeah.
It's a very good angle that you brought
it's
up.
good that they bring for us the issue of the numbers. Okay. What about these other the real
other
issue of
aspects?
survival? Survival.
Very good points, Mheshimiwa. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we need to look at all this holistically. Yeah.
Asante sana, Mheshimiwa. We wish you safety in these times.
Be safe.
Even you guys, be safe.
Thank you,
Asante
Mheshimiwa.
So you can't stay home.
It's true.
Yeah.
We try as much as possible from studio home.
Home.
God bless you, and keep you safe.
Amen.
Asante sana.
Asante.
Thank you.
Conversation about food. And, that is something that happens everywhere in this country. People in urban areas and people in their rural parts, food being sent from your relatives to you. It happens a lot.
It happens. It happens regularly.
How can we facilitate this? Because that's a very, very, very good point. How can we facilitate this and ensure that, those people who just require some food, nyumbani, tumia watoto wangu chakula. How can that be done, though? It's not impossible. It's not impossible.
No, it isn't impossible. In fact,
if the donkey can come down a tree, this is not impossible. In fact, this is where we apply this proverb straight up. Just remind us the proverb again, City.
by trying often, that donkey learns to jump from the tree.
There you go. By trying often, the donkey learns to jump from the tree. We are on top of a tree.
We need to climb
We
down.
need to jump, climb down. Try hard enough. It's not impossible. This is a situation room going to the top of the hour. We'll open up the phone line 0719-012-600 and continue with this conversation and others. Good morning. It's 9 o'clock.
All right, a little bit of a hold up on Langata Road for some reason, right around the KWS. We don't know what's causing that, but it shouldn't be too bad. Getting to the T-Mall roundabout, though, is all right. Must understand that because of the constant rain, there's been some flooding right around there. So you want to be cautious when approaching the area. Don't speed in because you might not get out. Take it easy there. Getting into the city centre, though, is not a problem. A little bit slippery on the roads that we had said before, so please be careful, guys. Spice FMKE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter. Let's know what you see. In case anything does pop up, don't hesitate to let us know and we can share. But for now, it looks pretty good.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people.
There's a curfew, and the curfew has definite hours, 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. You shouldn't be out unless you are essential services, or unless it's an emergency. We've spoken with doctors, and they say, well, if it's an emergency and you need to be taken to hospital, clearly, and even police officers have said these are situations that we can look at and see. Yeah, clearly we can see this is somebody who requires medical attention, and you're rushing them to the hospital. We can deal. Beyond that, no. Now, when people are detained at the roadblocks because they've flouted the rules, or wherever, caught during the day because you didn't have a face mask, you've been caught during the day because you did not observe social distancing, whatever, you flouted the regulations that have been set, what should happen to you? If you say that we shall all be taking them to quarantine, the problem I'm having with using the word quarantine is that we are stigmatizing this disease.
Yes. And we're now making the measures punitive. That's why I said I think there should be an instant measure applied right there. You're caught after curfew, whatever. It should be an instant.
You give a police officer money.
Well,
He gives you some
ticket.
receipts.
Give a ticket, whatever. You know, like for example, in other
Eric, you sound skeptical.
for a reason. Give it. So Eric is saying that the money will not get where it's supposed to get, right? But I'm saying because this is what we're trying to avoid. You're trying to avoid herds of people all going to one place because they're not going to take you to quarantine that night. Look at what we've seen.
But the same
they're
thing,
taking people to
you
sell.
don't want to create an extortion market. Because the next thing that's going to happen is a police officer will tell you, you're not observing social distance.
The point of the curfew in the first
This
place...
is not 1.5 meters.
But the point of the curfew in the first place was to curb the spread of COVID.
Yes.
19. That was the point of it initially.
Yes.
So we cannot say that to take people who've now broken the laws of the curfew, we're going to take all of you now and then put you in one place. What are we doing?
I agree.
We can't do that. That's what I'm saying. There needs to be something put in place so where you see the error of your ways, and at that point you're punished on the spot and allowed to go.
Okay.
Correction measures are put in place.
Correction. Okay,
If
fine.
you use the word punishment,
goes
you know,
okay.
you've
So
introduced a new
correction measures
discussion.
put in place on the spot. There needs to be on the spot measures.
Like what?
Because if
You're chained to the vehicle and told sit here for 4 hours.
Or you
We
change
saw
the-
that happening in Rwanda, right?
Or you change
yeah, you
the
don't go
vehicle and
anywhere.
then you run after it.
or like in Nigeria, you frog jump for the next 1 kilometer there, you come back and then you go home. I mean,
You will remember that.
you, my dear, frog jump. You remember?
That's what they do in Nigeria.
Yeah, it's very nice.
You've got some clear thinkers in that country.
You frog jump you go 1 kilometer up, you frog jump back, and not that you can't. It's not that you frog jump and jump away. Oh. The police officer is walking next to you.
Give police leeway for brutality. Where will you stop it?
Look, it's not going to be clear. The lines in this thing will not be cut and clear. Unfortunately, they will not be. Because you can't say that you will introduce a measure that will be all right for everybody along the line.
But you know,
at the end of the day, there are two things they're trying to do here. One, curb the spread of this disease. Get people to stay at home. At the same time, the people are going to flout it. So there must be a measure in place that is going to stop the crowd mentality, but that gets people to see the error of their ways. It's got to be. It's not going to be nice. It's not going to be palatable all across the lines, but there's got to be something in place. And I don't agree with taking all these people, all of them, and putting them in one place. I don't agree. I don't agree with that either. That's why I'm saying there's got to be an on-the-spot measure. There.
Actually, it doesn't even have to be on the spot. It doesn't even have to be, you don't need even to be taken to the police station first. If you've broken the law, yes, you may need to be booked. But in the absence of testing, we are negating all our efforts. Because you arrest people and then put them all together.
Then you don't screen?
Even the police persons themselves are in danger. Because you've arrested people, you don't know their status. And then you go and put them in the same place, and the same people who get into contact with them when you're putting them in the bus or in the van or in the whatever. What you do on a daily basis is just increase your exposure. So
the police officers are actually really, really at great risk.
They are.
At great risk.
That's why I keep asking this question. What is it that has been done to ensure that police officers are protected? Because they're in the direct line of fire here.
Paul in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning to you guys.
Good morning.
Very well.
I think in this quarantine I was just lonely and I thought I should talk to people.
You've done a wonderful thing. Tell us what's on your mind.
I'm listening to the show every day, and I think we're just supposed to be cautious and know that this thing is here to destroy our lives, and we should just be more responsible. Because like I've been listening to the story of several stories around, I think it's just a responsibility. Somebody like Kodida, I think with all that celebrity status and what, he's supposed to know that there are chemists that can deliver drugs at home or even ask a friend. So this thing of flouting curfew and coming up with good reasons, no one will ever miss a reason in life. But let's look for solutions. Let's stop looking for reasons. Let's look for solutions. For things like there is Mheshimiwa who just said that the government should look for a way of how to send food from the villages. It's a good reason also because this has been happening. The buses are still moving. The parcel services are still moving. So the government should not come in and tell you now you should be moving food from your village through these means.
Paul, buses are not moving.
You to plan.
Paul, buses are not moving.
I was just brought honey the other day with a Simba coach from Western Kenya. I picked it actually on Saturday from Simba coach.
Was it a passenger carrying vehicle or was it a parcel?
Cargo.
Was it just the parcel services?
I don't know because it was Simba coach and Simba coach is a bus service. And I went to pick honey from there.
Okay.
And some stuff from home. So I think even if they're not buses, there are several ways that Kenyans innovate to move things around. So Kenyans should just stop having reasons with this kind of disease. This is a different time altogether, and we should just be cautious and do the right thing. Yeah.
So forget too many reasons. Why not? Just get things done.
Let us not just look for reasons because we will never miss them anyway. Reasons are always there, and they're the easiest things to get in life. But let us try and look for solutions in those reasons so that we help ourselves. We're not helping the government. There's no one called the government. There is us who make the government. So let us just take care of ourselves.
Point taken, Paul. Asante sana. We wish you all the best in Mombasa.
Thank you, and good day, and thank you for giving me company this morning. It's been
Good
a
day to
boring
you too.
week altogether.
Yeah, thank you for giving us company as well.
Yes.
Evans in Kisumu, good morning. We've lost him. Evans, you can call back. We were just putting you on air. Evans in Kisumu. So basically, Paul is saying, look. If you start talking about, oh, why were you late? Or why did you require food? Everybody will have a reason. And he has a point.
He does have a very valid point, but let me put it to you this way. The condition that our friend's wife was in, my friend, that it can leave you confused.
It is. It can, actually. It can. And you know, maybe to some extent, if we don't even know whether he had tried calling a chemist that he buys the
No, we
medicine from,
don't.
and they told him, no, today we actually don't have, we've run out of that particular medicine that you're looking for. So what happens next?
It's his wife who was unwell, and her condition wasn't a mild headache, you know. It was a life-threatening condition. If that is the man, you will want to do everything within your means.
Yes.
Probably to bring this point home, if a child was very ill,
You don't think
and
twice.
you may want to go, you are not going
You don't
to
think twice.
Believe me, you'll throw caution to the wind. It's how people respond to certain emergencies. It isn't as though somehow he had nicked his finger with a knife. No, it's not that. This was a life-threatening situation, and this is his wife.
Lydia in Parklands, good morning.
Good morning, Spice FM. Thank you for keeping us informed every day. We are really happy about Spice FM. Anyway, now I wanted to add that many years ago I had read an article, whenever you consume too much sugar, get ready for a migraine headache. So we should not trouble the hospitals that we got a headache. And it came just from sugar. So many years ago I read this, and from that time I've never had a headache. I always controlled what I had. I didn't drink too many sodas, cakes, ice creams. I ate carefully. And also salt gives us high blood pressure. Because if you are a fish and I poured salt on your head in the aquarium, you'll be jumpy. So that is blood pressure. So we should take care of ourselves on these bases. Don't rush to the hospital because you have a headache and you had too many sodas. So this is how we should take care of ourselves. I never have a headache now for so many years that I don't have any reason to say that I'm sick. So
Good.
please, let's take good care of ourselves.
Take good care of ourselves. Thank you very much, Lydia. Thank you. Have a good day. Victor in Kericho, good morning.
Yes, morning, guys.
Good morning.
Yes, City. Are you okay, my guy?
Your guy is okay. And how is my guy? Is my guy also okay?
I can tell from your voice you are not 100% okay.
You want my voice to be a little livelier, or do you want me to sing a song to determine that I'm actually well?
Anyway, if you're okay and you've ascertained, it's right, my guy.
Thank you.
Hey, my guy.
Yes, Latif.
Yes, sir.
I don't have much today, but I want to remind Kenyans. You know, this is a pandemic. The government is doing as much as possible, giving directives, giving assistance, all that they can so that we stay positive and maybe flatten the curve eventually. All these machineries that have been put in place, right from the public health officers, the health officers, the policemen enforcing these directives, they are our brothers, our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, and they are human beings above all. Let us Kenyans give them easy time. You know, let's give them easy time. Kama curfew inaanza saa moja usiku, let it remain that. You know,
usikuwe nje.
You know, unless there is a dire reason that you can't wait for dawn to come forth. But above all, let's support the government. The government, the officers enforcing this directive against the population is there's very much disparity in terms of numbers. Each and every person can't have a policeman manning them, or each and every household. You can't have a policeman enforcing this directive. This is why you see, as a human being, we might talk of maybe the confinement in the cells, how they are not proper. What do we expect these police guys to do?
What do you expect them to do? They're not the ones who build the cells.
Yes, I want to ask that. What do we expect them to do?
You want me to ask the policeman, or are you asking me?
I want you to answer.
No, this is why I was saying, because of this fact, because that's why I'm saying there needs to be on-the-spot measures taken. And I was very clear in that, because we know already that they're dealing with less than proper situations at the cells, for example. Overcrowding is likely to happen. And that's why I'm saying it should not be used as an option. On the spot, there needs to be a measure that can be applied there and then for something to be done. Otherwise, we are putting ourselves, like CT talks about, we're bypassing the frying pan and going right into the fire. The same thing that we're trying to avoid is the same place we're taking ourselves to. If you have drones of people that you're taking and putting them in the cells, and that's what we're trying to avoid, overcrowding in the first place. And that's why I was saying on the spot, something needs to be dealt there and then. That's what I expect them to do in answer to your question.
It's okay, madam. But what is it difficult in maybe observing the curfew directive?
That's the thing, and that's why I'm saying measures need to be
do
applied.
have a point.
There's a point. There's a problem there, and that's why I'm saying people are going to flout the rules by very nature. People are going to dance with it and say, okay, can I play with 659 or 701? People are going to teeter-totter on that line, and instead of being at home when you're required to be at home. And that's the problem.
Thank you, Victor. You've made a very good point. Yes, let's try as much as possible to work with the government. Adhere to the rules and regulations set. Asante sana. Have a good day in Kericho.
Thank you.
16 minutes after 9. This is a Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Join the conversation online. Spice FM KE on Instagram, at Spice FM KE on Twitter, Spice FM KE on Facebook, or you can call us 0719 012 600. Good morning.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
It's going to be a day of cloudy conditions in Nairobi, currently at 18 degrees. Showers throughout the city. Thunderstorms forecasted for the afternoon with highs of 23 and lows of 15. 18 degrees in Nyeri and cloudy conditions as well. Showers throughout the day. Highs of 22 and lows of 15. Light rain showers being experienced in Nakuru currently at 17 degrees. We're going to see a high of 22 and it's going to low at 14. In Eldoret at 17 degrees, it's mostly cloudy. Showers expected for the afternoon with highs of 20 and lows of 13. 22 degrees in Kisumu and mostly cloudy. Showers coming in early at 26 the high and lows of 19. It's mostly cloudy in Malindi at 28 degrees. We'll experience a high of 31 and lows of 26. Mombasa at 28 degrees is cloudy through and through. Chances of showers quite high. 30 degrees the high, lows of 26. Taking a look into Kampala, it's mostly cloudy at 21 degrees, 24 the high and lows of 18 with showers expected in the afternoon. It'll be a clear day in Dar es Salaam at 27 degrees so far, highs of 32 and lows of 24. Johannesburg at 15 degrees is mostly sunny, clear skies in the afternoon with highs of 24 and lows of 8. Lagos is at 27 degrees with clear skies this morning. However, it'll cloud up with rain showers in the afternoon with highs of 34 and lows of 27.
Online, mobile, and on radio. Instagram at Spice FM KE. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Korea will be joining us from 9:30. Currently, she's actually
Morning.
So she'll give us some info straight from
Some juice.
some juice straight from the top.
Leakage.
Leakage of what to expect this afternoon. But also some of those questions that we are raising, I'm sure she'll be raising with the CAS as well. So we can get to know this entire thing of quarantine versus detention versus punishment versus ensuring that we are not creating some sort of stigma around the issue of COVID-19. Same thing that was happening. The driver who's saying, look, I was brought in here. The kind of feeling that driver is getting is that he's being punished.
The driver forgets that he should not have left Nairobi.
After all, he's just feeling...
Fine, understood. He shouldn't have left Nairobi.
Yeah. Bottom line. You see, unfortunately, we get into this whole explanation and this, that, the other thing, where from the very beginning...
It's blame shifting.
Yeah, from the very beginning, you should not have left.
That guy's condition...
Should have left, in this case, should have left home earlier.
And the gentleman, what's the name of the gentleman whose wife was unwell?
Ekodida.
No, you know, that's a totally different situation. You are carrying an empty coffin from Nairobi all the way to Kindube.
To take it for the funeral.
As though they do
there
not...
There
are no coffins being made in Kindube.
Well, they haven't. They told us to bring the
They were not making coffins in Kindube.
You know you shouldn't leave the boundaries of Nairobi. It's prohibited.
City. A close relative dies.
No, Eric.
How many people are allowed for in a funeral?
15.
15, right? So if a close relative of yours passes on, and you're one of the 15 very close people that need to travel, you're not telling me you're not going to travel?
Eric, in these circumstances, no.
Can you imagine how difficult it would have been to explain? Just think about it.
I'd rather
this.
send the money.
Honestly,
to
how
you
difficult
so
would
that
it
you
be
have
to
the funeral.
explain
I'd
an
rather
empty
send the
coffin?
money.
Because you know what? That's what everybody is hearing now. An empty coffin. So you were cheating people. Did you hear what CS Mutahi Kagwe said? People have gone to great lengths to break the rules of the curfew.
Because CS Mutahi Kagwe has been told that we'll go remember empty coffin, and he goes ahead to say,
you know,
pretending to attend
there's
the
something
funeral.
about death that you must understand. You know,
Yes.
it's final. It's permanent. Huh?
Exactly.
Now, I come from a community where whether I attend this funeral today or in a week's time, it really doesn't matter. So long as at some point I have gone
went
and
to
paid
pay my
homage.
respects.
Yes. You know there is this law. I'm spending money traveling. That money would be probably needed more
If you sent it.
if I sent it. It would be, in my opinion, it would be far more useful if I sent it. Believe me, people have buried parents in town. Why? They look at the streets and they understand. They say, you know, this one, we would very much have preferred to inter this parent or this person at home. It's not going to be possible given these circumstances.
Understand something, City. The funeral actually took place.
Without the coffin?
No, with the coffin. The coffin was taken. The funeral took place.
It was going to take place anyway.
They
Eric.
did not break. They did not break the rules. That means that the people who traveled here were the people who were going to bury their kin. It is not anything else.
Eric, you are not allowed to leave Nairobi.
That's
Full stop.
blanket.
Full
And you
stop.
understand that this cessation of movement within these counties came after this whole rules about funeral services. Funeral services and the numbers, they started at 50 and then they reduced the number and it came down to 25 and then further reduced to 15. this came before the cessation of movement within the counties.
Yes.
So you can imagine they understood this. And even before they said don't move within counties, even at funerals, they said reduce the number. So what do you think is going to make them now change their minds when they say with the cessation of counties?
Let's come back to the conversation, but let's bring in Daniel as well, who's calling in from Kisumu. Daniel, good morning. Daniel? Daniel, are you there? Well, he's somewhere. I don't know exactly what's happened to Daniel.
We'll call in
0719-012-600. Daniel, you can call in again. So these people, they traveled all the way from Nairobi. They had documentation from here showing that they're going for a funeral. They were showing that at all the police roadblocks. Police were looking at it and saying, yes, this warrants me to allow you to pass. And they passed. So that means they did not break law. They were not doing this, chini ya maji. They were not claiming that, maybe they didn't even lie to the police officers that we are carrying an empty coffin. They basically said we are going for a funeral. If the police does not ask you, huyu mtu mmebeba yako ndani ya coffin.
Well, it was interesting that they made their way across the country until they got to very close to their destination. Is now when they were asked, okay, actually, let's
Open
have a
the
look
coffin.
here. So by the time somebody's asking you to open the coffin, do you think they must have said something to them that would have made them doubt? Then we're saying, open the coffin, let us see. You see now, all of this that we're having, this
just a
speculation,
Hawkeye
is not
officer.
necessary.
Let me just
It's not
explain this
necessary.
again. Just before Easter, the president, no less the president, the president, Mombasa, Kilifi, Nairobi.
Kwale.
Ban.
Don't.
Not special circumstances, ban. Ban means no movement in and out of those places. No exceptions, no rules. Ban. Finished.
Okay. Edwina in Malindi, good morning.
Good morning, dear. How are you?
Fine,
We're
thank you.
fine, thank you.
Greet everybody. My uncle C
Your uncle sees very well. And how is my niece doing?
and my sister Do.
Yes, my sister, how are you?
I'm really feeling bad.
And
I'm
just
hungry
to remind
and
them-
everything
Just to
else.
remind them that it is dear Eric.
Yes.
Yes, this is Edwina. I'm in Malindi.
Yes,
Asante.
mommy.
There is a situation which broke up the other day that there's some boys who threw stones to the DCIO.
Yep.
So the army men were brought out. They were beating the boys in the day. And there were some women who were hawking cassavas. These women were in the group and they were beaten so brutally. And one of them is quite not, she doesn't even walk. So I'm asking you to talk to the OCS of Malindi to look for this woman and take her to the hospital. Because I can't look for her. I don't know where she's staying.
Okay.
Yeah, it is really bad.
Do you know
the
her
woman
status?
was in a
Do you know her
lesson.
condition?
Yeah, the other friend of hers just passed here with the mihogo, with the cassava, and told us that she's bedridden, she has 6 children, and she cannot provide to the children. She has no husband. But with that, she was beaten, and she can walk a bit. So that situation is really bad. Even right now, I'm really crying. If it were me, what would have happened to me? Huh? What would have happened? And these people they were not putting on sunglasses. They were barely open eyes. Why were they beating these women? And they were in what? They were in their laces tied around their waist, and they were carrying baskets of cassavas. Why they were and in the day, broad daylight?
Yeah.
Why?
Edwina, you're saying you cannot go to the woman's house. Explain why.
But I don't know where she lives.
But these people who reported her condition, do they know where she
They know
lives?
where she lives.
I'm the one who is reporting the condition.
But someone told you about it.
Yes, the fellow woman who is walking with her.
Yes, but does this fellow person know where she lives?
I've not asked her. She told us this yesterday, and we were really shocked.
Why don't you find out if she knows where this person lives?
Okay, I'll do that. Then I call you back.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll wait for her when she passes here today or tomorrow, and then I'll ask her where she lives. Really.
That's
Please
a good place
please do
to
that.
start.
Yeah.
The issue of the youth stoning the police. What do you say? What do you have to say about that?
it is not good. It is not correct. People, if you are told to be in quarantine, be in quarantine. And if you are told not to do this and this and this,
don't do it.
See, this was a motorbike boy, and he was in Rasta. And this boy, he had to the DCIO. But why would he do that?
Yeah.
That is very, very wrong. It means like some of us, we are in Kenya and we are not Kenyan.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm so much bitter about that. Me, I come from a community where these things, if they are told, you cannot overgo over the law. No, you don't. I'm so much bitter.
Paula Edwina, we hear you. We've lost Edwina. I hope that she calls back. She's able to find out the plight and where this particular woman that she's talking about lives, and then we can see. I mean, the community can come
if we
together.
know, then we know.
Mobilize.
Yes, we will know what next to do.
we can mobilize. It's 9:30. Let's take a look at traffic shortly, and then continue this conversation. We'll be speaking with Dr. Mercy Korir. If you've got any questions regarding COVID-19 or what the government is doing or the government response to this, you can ask Dr. Mercy. She has been attending the media conferences by the CAS and the CS for Health, especially with the disaster response, the emergency response committee. So she knows quite a bit. And right now, she's just been speaking with the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Mercy Mwangangi. So we'll hear from her. Good morning. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Join the conversation. Spice FM KE, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And also you can call 0719 0126 00. 0719 0126 00. Good morning.
Okay, guys, a bunch of accidents this morning on Valley Road getting into the city centre. Unfortunately, one accident there. It's backed up on Thika Road right around Pangani. Traffic is bumper to bumper. We also understand that the rains are coming down heavy right around there, so people are slowing down, which is a good thing in this case. Apart from that, it doesn't look too bad. A little bit right around Cabanas on Mombasa Road heading towards the General Motors, so please be careful there as well. It won't take too long to open up either. So around about 9:30, anywhere that you're experiencing traffic should open up soon enough. Spice FM KE just in case. It'll probably clog up in the evening once again. Remember, the roads are slippery because of the rain, so please be extremely careful.
thank you very much for choosing us
Spice
to
up
be
your life.
morning companion.
Mature,
This is Kenya's biggest
intelligent
conversation.
talk
My name is
every
Eric
morning.
Classic. We have CT
Spice up
Muga
yourself.
and Nduoko. Joining us on the line, Christine calling in from Mombasa. Christine, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We are well. How are you?
Good morning.
My morning is excellent. In fact, I love your show. I just had to call in to tell you that.
Oh, thank
and
you.
I wanted to contribute. Yes. I wanted to contribute to this morning conversation.
Mm.
And I think Ndu is correct. There should be an instant penalty if you're caught for any reason by the police, instead of having to be dragged to, made to sit by the roadside or go to jail. There should be an instant penalty. So the government should have a pay bill number. And for the offense that has been committed, you know you've got to pay X amount. You pay that money via M-Pesa and you're on your way.
Right.
I think that's the most...
So
the
no
simplest way to
handling
look at
of
it.
cash by the police officers.
No handling of cash, no need of booking tickets and stuff like that, because we know it probably may not happen. And the government will make money, and people will learn how to be responsible, because when you're paying out for a penalty, you will learn from that lesson.
There you go.
And it'll be easier for the police.
Good points.
And then at the same time, we're not dealing with mass herds of people going into already limited
Yes.
cells.
Exactly. So you've got people in line in their vehicles. They don't even have to get out. You're just told, what have you committed? This is the amount you've got to pay. Do it now. Show me the message through your window
And go.
and get on your way. So
Right.
if you're caught further down the line, you've already paid that.
And you show your message.
Maybe, and you show your message.
There you go.
Okay.
And
Thank
please continue with the great work. I'm loving your show.
Thank you
Thank you very much, Christine.
Be blessed and stay safe.
You too.
Stay safe.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day, Mombasa.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Dr. Mercy Korir, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr.
Welcome to
Good morning. How
welcome
are
to the Situation Room.
Thank you very much.
My name
It
is
a
Eric
pleasure
Latif.
to-
We
yeah.
have CT Muga and Nduoko.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
You have a question for Dr. Mercy? Confused, aren't you? How are you doing, Dr.
Very well, thank you. Up and about. It looks like life is almost getting back to normal in Nairobi from the look of things.
Why?
The streets nowadays are a bit busier than before. Remember when we started the issue of the partial lockdown and the
Yep.
curfews, people were a bit scattered and very few people are in town. But now there seems to be a town, the CBD, our offices in CBD, and there seems to be a beehive of activities everywhere.
Yeah, it's getting busy, actually.
So I'm wondering, are the numbers too low for people, or what's not happening? What are we missing?
People are tired of staying at home, so people are trying to get back into their groove of things.
So the question is it time for us to start thinking of living with the coronavirus the same way we learned to live with malaria, with HIV, with TB? Is it time to do so?
So we go the Tanzania route?
No.
They're living with it.
No, but by living with it, I mean we still observe the physical distancing measures through and through. So we still don't go to church. We find a way of going to school. We still keep hygiene measures in our workplaces. We mask through and through, like as a way of a new normal. Because clearly, people want to do something with their lives. People are tired of being at home.
So do you think we can coexist with COVID-19?
I think so, because I'm just okay. This is just something that has occurred to me from what I'm seeing around. I think we can if we adhere to those measures very strictly, because then we will not be able to live like this perpetually. So we have to adopt this as a new normal way of living life, not to what you were seeing before. So could be. I don't know. I'm just thinking, because for how long will we be in this situation?
It's a good question you've asked,
no one
Mercy.
can see the end.
Take, for instance, if someone was actually genuinely ill, For how long then do we estimate that you must remain ill?
We don't. We are counting. 14 to
Precisely.
20.
You're not certain. You can get well. You may have a condition others have had. If there's a cure, it is presumed you will get well. But when you have a situation where you are trying to prevent yourself from getting well, how do we put a timeline to that?
You can. Then you just have that prevent those preventive measures for life as a new normal. And then remember, from the data and the statistics, about 50% to 60% of people will be asymptomatic. They'll not have any symptoms. So, do we all live in fear, or do we find ways of making sure that this new way of doing things becomes our way of life?
You know what? A lot of what we see here is us resisting change. And then we find reasons why we're resisting change. We actually avoid mentioning change. We mention everything else. You heard Eric and I talking about the people who are reported to have traveled to South Nyanza, one with an empty coffin, but two, etc., etc. Remember? And Eric's reasons are plausible. The gentleman who was a driver, his reasons are plausible. But it boils down to one thing. He was not supposed to have left Nairobi. Simple. That whole group of people were not supposed to have left Nairobi. For whatever, there was a ban. So they went against the ban. Whether they had papers, they didn't have papers, they were not supposed to leave. And that quarantine, that order was on for 21 days. 21 days have not lapsed. So he broke the law.
True.
Dr. There are some questions already coming in. So Ruben is calling in from Ukunda. He has a question for you. Ruben, good morning.
Good morning. I have a question for Dr.
Yep.
Yes, Ruben.
I wanted to ask her that is the Pharmacy and Poison Board responsible for approving the test kits to be used in the hospital instead of Kenya Medical Laboratory and Technician Board? If it is so, how comes the board for pharmacy is approving the test kits to be used by laboratory technicians? Just that's my question. And I wanted to correct Dr. There's a moment when she said that you take one part of the bleach, then you mix with 6 parts of the water. But I want to correct her. It depends the concentration of the bleach, because not all bleach have the same concentration. So that mixing ratio depends with the concentration of the bleach, because there's a formula you use so that you can get that mixing ratio.
My brother, you sound like you have knowledge in lab technology.
Yeah, I am a medical lab technology student.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you for your question. Before Dr. Mercy answers your question, let me ask you a simple question. If you're talking about who should determine or who should test, I think let's start with what roles many of these government institutions are supposed to play and what they're mandated to do. Start with KEMRI, who have the capacity to produce. Then go to the Poisons Board, Medicine and Poisons Board. What are their mandate? And the board that governs the work that lab technicians do. I think their roles are clearly spelled out, if I'm not wrong.
They are.
So the question is answered then, Ruben. Thank you very much. If you have a question for Dr. Mercy Korir, 0719-012-600. You can also post the questions on social media, Spice FM KE, on Facebook and Twitter. Ndu, how many do you have?
Well, quite a number. Okay, let's go to the first one, which is a question on mass testing, Daktari. And to say that, okay, this was the week where they would according to the Ministry of Health, that mass testing would begin. Is that still, and are people then supposed to show up, or what happens in this case?
Okay. I think the mass testing from the Ministry of Health has been targeted, where they were starting from the people who are at highest risk, and that was the healthcare workers, the persons who are working at quarantine facilities. So it was starting from that group and expanding, and the plan is also to go up to the police, who are essential services on the front line. So it wasn't mass testing like public now come everyone, but targeted to a certain cohort of people who are at highest risk because of the resources that we have. We have very limited resources to use for testing about 20,000 kits now. So you cannot definitely test millions of Kenyans using those few kits that you have. So that is where they've started. Granted, the exercise has been slow. It's not as fast as they would have wanted it to be because you want them to clear with these high-risk groups so that now they can move to the public. And when they move to the public, then they can explain, are we testing to check if the virus is there, or are we doing antibody testing to see who might have gotten infected and therefore they have some level of immunity? So those are the discussions or what we expect next from the Ministry of Health in order to know what the plan and the strategy is for testing. So as it is now, it hasn't moved to the general public. They are still working with these high-risk groups within the same community or within the country.
Okay. Would you advise anyone who wanted to know their status to go in then for private testing?
Okay. So you can go for private testing, but I also know even the private laboratories have limited kits. So they are reserving these kits to people who warrant the testing. One, it is the healthcare workers or people at the front line. I think you saw the day before yesterday on Sunday, I myself did that testing. Two is for people with upper respiratory symptoms or people who are in hospital because of pneumonia or people who presented with pneumonia because you want to rule out the possibility of COVID. So there's a certain criteria in which they are also checking so that because we have very limited kits as a country, then you do not want just because somebody can pay to test everyone. So these are criteria. So for any private citizen, you have to be referred by your doctor or by a healthcare worker to go and have that test done in the private laboratories. So you have to also meet certain criteria. For example, if you have been, since the measure started, for example, if you have been in the house, in quarantine, not moving around, then the chances that you have picked up COVID are very slim. So you'll probably not qualify for a test. But like yourselves, you're always coming to work early in the morning, you're interacting with people on your way out and about, you're even going to the field like we saw Latif the other day, then you are a high-risk person. So your healthcare provider, your doctor, can refer you to have that test done just to make sure that you are safe and you're not a risk to the public who you keep interacting with. So there's a certain criteria. So if anyone wants, they should see their doctor. If they meet the criteria according to their doctor, then they can be referred to have that laboratory test done. But anyone around, that's why I have used you as a good example so that we can refer you to do the test.
Actually, Mercy, what you should tell Eric is that if he wants such a comprehensive package, he needs to go and see a witch doctor, not you.
Do you know something that we don't know about Eric?
No.
My good Lord, this is going south.
My goodness, this one has gone north.
Next question.
What are the questions you have?
All right. So there was the whole hullabaloo around chloroquine and anything quinine, and we saw yesterday that chloroquine then might be ruled out as a possible treatment for COVID-19. Does this mean that something else is being worked on? This question is very interesting, Dr. because it seems as if people are looking for the next thing to latch on to.
Yes, remember, and it's not just whether unique to Kenya, but I'm seeing it even globally. People want an answer. Okay, you've been diagnosed, so what is the cure? Everyone wants an answer, either a cure or a vaccine. So it's a valid concern. So the issue with chloroquine and the other medications, remember, the WHO launched the Solidarity Trial. I was listening to the DG yesterday. I think they've enrolled about 1,200 patients in 5 countries. So in this Solidarity Trial, there are there are 5 tracks of it. One is looking at treatment or rather management options, just using oxygen, the other supportive management for the patients, and see what their outcome would be in COVID. The second one that they are doing is an antiviral drug called remdesivir. So this drug was trialed for Ebola. It didn't work, but they're trying to see if it has any role in COVID. The third one was lopinavir/ritonavir, which is an antiretroviral used in HIV care. I think the trade name is Caletra or Alluvia. So that's the third track. The fourth track is this same antiretroviral, lopinavir/ritonavir, with an additional beta interferon. To see if it will have any effect. And then the fifth and the last one now was hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine used in malaria treatment. Hydroxychloroquine is used in like SLE, which is an autoimmune infection, lupus. So they're trying to see if at all this will have any effect. Now, the sixth consideration that WHO was looking at as of last week was the use of steroids, to see if steroids would have any effect, that is steroids and oxygen therapy, because they are thinking that steroids are readily available and cheap, and so for developing countries and underdeveloped countries, then this may be a better readily accessible option. So there are all these drugs in trial to see if any one of them will have any treatment function or role in the treatment of coronavirus. So if they are now ruling something out, it means from the studies or the cohorts that they've seen, they're not seeing any added value for it to be used in the treatment of coronavirus. So everyone is actually looking out to see what can be used for treating. So in addition to looking at the actual drugs that to treat, I know a group of critical care physicians and pathologists also looking at how the virus affects the lungs. How comes it causes acute respiratory distress, such that even when you put people on oxygen, they are still not able to get oxygen throughout their body. So what is the effect on the lungs? So from looking at that, then they are able to advise on how to prevent it getting to that stage, or what medication then would be able to reverse this. So there are a lot of studies globally that are ongoing concurrently to try and find out treatment, if any, for the coronavirus. So at the end of it, we may find something or not find anything at all. So as treatment also continues, there's also a group of other companies and people looking at possible vaccines. And so far, 5 are actually in clinical trial to see if at all they will offer any immunity. And so they can be rolled out en masse to the public around the world to prevent them from getting the coronavirus. So all these works are ongoing by scientists globally.
Okay.
Yeah.
A question here is, another one is, why is the health ministry not using the bottom-up module or strategy to make the community own these measures, as opposed to just focusing on the clinical approach?
I think that question echoes the one thing I've had in my mind for the last 2 weeks. Because and probably why I was wondering this morning, can we start working with living with coronavirus as part of our day-to-day life? And that will actually just speak to having a bottom-up or community-owned approach to the coronavirus. And I wish I knew why the Ministry of Health is not embracing this, or what bottlenecks they are facing. I don't know. I don't know. But for me, for any public health intervention, and I'm glad City is there, they'll tell you that if a community does not own whatever strategy it is that you're presenting to them, then that project is not going to be sustainable. There's not going to be any behavior change. So I wish I had an answer for that one, but I don't.
I'm just going to add to what you've said. You know, even when they test these drugs, remember we were talking about the aerosol nature of COVID-19, and they said that they had done some lab tests. Before anything can be reported as being even efficacious or anything close to it, first of all, why you move from simply that lab sort of like setting to a larger group of people and multi-site studies is you want to determine that among a mixed group of people and in a large space, what percentage of these people actually test positive, test negative, or prove to you that what you had set out to determine has been determined or negated, whichever case. But there has to be a large body of individuals from whom you can draw information. Otherwise, it is not possible for any such thing to actually be allowed to be used among people, because there will be one simple thing: not enough is known about it. Now, when it comes to community, you are right. We've had very many research projects, biomedical research projects that have gone belly up for that particular reason. The community did not like it. They didn't. They rejected it.
Yeah.
It wasn't that the study wasn't good. No. Usually you'll find that the people who wrote the study took the view that they knew everything that there was to know, instead of asking the community or involving the community in the process. And so somewhere along the line, the community just said they were not interested. And that was the end of that study. So you're right.
True. So we need a lot more people engaged in the public. People need to understand why, as opposed to scaremongering. We need to stop criminalizing the disease. Like, if you break curfew, you are in quarantine. Yet there are set rules for people who breach curfew, for example. So there's a lot that we are not getting right because of now the connotation that we are giving the coronavirus, which probably we need to change if we are to move forward or make this or have everyone on board in fighting the coronavirus. And if what we are seeing now in the streets of Nairobi CBD is anything to go by, people really don't seem to think this is a threat anymore.
Indeed. Dr. we want to thank you very much for joining us today. It's coming to 2 minutes to the end of the show.
Thank you for having me.
What are you working on today?
So today we were having a one-on-one with Dr. Masi Mwangangi. So you'll get to, and this is not really about COVID, but who is Dr. So that's our big story.
So it's profiling Dr. Masi Mwangangi.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to actually watch and get to know her story.
Yep, it is.
So who is she?
Just wait for the newspapers, the standard newspapers, and on KTN News sometime this week. I'll let you know when, and you'll be able to find out who Dr. Masi Mwangangi is.
Okay. Today's proverb, C.T. Muga.
By trying often, the donkey learns to jump from the tree. Focus your mind on how the donkey managed to climb the tree first. Then you'll arrive at an understanding of the proverb.
Actually, that's what I was wondering. How did he climb the tree?
Even
And
the
it's
most
not that
difficult things, if you try and figure out a way of resolving it instead of doing the same thing over and over, and you keep trying, you may arrive at a plausible solution.
Even when you find yourself in some circumstances that you really don't know how you ended up there, there's a way out.
And looking for a solution isn't finding who to blame. That is never a solution. Yes.
Or shouting from the
rooftops. Yes.
From the top of the tree.
Yes.
The treetop.
That's a very good one. City, where is this from?
Uganda.
It's a Ugandan proverb.
Yes, it's a Ugandan saying.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Masi. Speak to you tomorrow.
Same time.
Asante sana.
Asante sana.
Bye, Mercy.
All right, bye. Have a good day.
Any questions for Dr. Masi Korir, you can post them on our social media handles at SpiceFMKE, at Dr. Masi Korir, and she'll be able to respond to them. She'll also be joining us tomorrow to answer more of your questions. Thank you very much for tuning in to The Situation Room today. Join us again tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Say goodbye, City Muga.
Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow.
Say goodbye.
Okay, bye.
See you tomorrow. Now until 2 p.m. uninterrupted music, sugar and spice and everything nice. And then Monique will be here from 2 to 6 to take you home on Spice Drive. New hours because of the COVID-19 times. And then the adults in the room, Emmanuel and Barbara, will be here from 7 to 10. Goodbye. Have a good day. It's 10 o'clock.